Okay, that should be us, I think. All right, I think. Okay. Hello and welcome to another episode of Star Trek Europa. We were off for a week, which really makes it like 3 weeks, I think we were off. We have unfortunately lost one of our players um, due to personal reasons, and we will leave it at that. So we'll continue with our cast primarily from season 1 and season 2. And we'll figure out what we want to do about a fourth player, if anything, at some other point in time. In the meantime, I'm your host, as always, Jeff Harvey. You can find me at Studio Tembo in all the locations. There is a link in the description of YouTube, and I will post it wherever the video is posted for Linktree. Other than that, I want to thank everyone who's following me on YouTube. We just hit 100 subscribers today, so that's big news.
Hey.
I just hit, I think 12 or just over 1200 on TikTok, whatever that one is recently. And with the assistance of Continuing Conversations, and Continuing Missions website, we have gained a substantial number of followers on the podcast side of things. So, for those of you who are waiting, I was working on Patreon this week. I have some stuff to post, but I will probably not get it posted until Friday. So, yeah, other than that, I have nothing else to add. I hope we have a good game today. Let's go ahead and do introductions. Let's start with Evelyn.
I'm Evelyn. I'm playing Dr. Desave Onayet along with Lieutenant Mills and Lieutenant Junior Grade O'Connor. I had to remember who I was for a minute. You can find me at TikTok at Caffeinatrix with 2 X's. You can also find me every other weekend on St. Pete by Night on Twitch. We are streaming the court portion of Elysium for our 90-plus Discord server game.
It's a lot of people. I try to help out. I'm a moderator on that, and I try to help out as much as I can, but it is hard to keep up. So
no, you pretty much have to be on daily, hourly, or it gets ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, Brian, go ahead.
My name is Brian. I'm playing Ensign Yezabeth Page along with assorted others. You can find me if you find the associated clues hidden throughout the episode.
Yes. Mostly just listen to the background and you will find out where to find him.
Follow the sound of geese.
Yes, follow the sound of geese. Which brings us to Jack. Jack, go ahead.
Yes, hello, I'm Jack. I am playing Captain Irani Ambrose, still getting used to that, as well as Lieutenant Tong, which is always super fun to say. But when I am not taking way too much screen time away from everybody else on this amazing ship, you can find me ruling with an iron fist over on my own channel, twitch.tv/The People's Ascension. We just started, I say just, we're 3 weeks in, or halfway through, of our second season of RPGs Uncovered, where I specialize in showing just how quick and easy it is to get into a new tabletop role-playing game. So there is no excuse for saying, it takes too long to learn a game, it's too complicated. I will break down games for you, specifically indie games. This season we are tackling an amazing pastoral fantasy game, Heroic Chord. It is very narrative-based, focused on mashing different keywords together and having, negotiations and conversations between players and the GM to make sure that things do what you want them to do and cost an appropriate amount. It's a very fun collaborative storytelling game. So go check that out if you want to explore that. And my newest announcement is that tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be having an interview with Parable Games, the creator of Shiver. It's a classic horror TTRPG. It's based on all of the old, horror literature and movies and shows, and you can play as or incorporate those sort of horror archetypes and characters into your own horror game, be that Frankenstein or his monster or vampires, werewolves, zombies, whatever it may be. Great rules for that, and they just kicked off a new Kickstarter today, actually, for their new Gothic update to bring that up into Gothic times, which looks really exciting. So I'm going to be talking with them tomorrow on my own channel. other than that, I will post my own Linktree and stop talking so we can play some Star Trek.
I have one last announcement I want to make real quick. Is there's a new show coming from Studio Tembo. It's probably going to come at the beginning of April. It's a long-form interview show with game designers, creators, YouTube personalities, that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be part of the YouTube, part of the Studio Tembo experience. Anywhere that you find Studio Tembo free stuff, you'll find that too, because it'll be free stuff. So with that, let's go ahead and do a recap. I know we did a behind the scenes recap. We did a recap while we were behind the scenes earlier, but let's go ahead and do one for everybody else. Who wants to go and take the lead? I guess Evelyn said she has 14 pages or 17 pages of notes, or no, Jack had 17 pages of notes and Evelyn has a book full that she has to replace.
Jack has 17 pages of notes for the whole game.
Yeah.
I am on my second notebook.
Yes.
So we had started out with our signature Tongo game and then moved on to the library where we discovered that Dr. Foxwell had turned off Eva's voice modulation, and yeah, not a fan. So we definitely fixed that problem. There were no orders not to, so everything's fine there. We got a distress signal from a friendly freighter, Lupex Latinum. Discovered that they were being attacked by Packleds. The Packleds fled into the neutral zone. We could not pursue. I don't remember how this is pronounced. Ugesto?
I have Ugesk.
Ugesk. Oh, that's a K. Aha. All right. Sometimes I can't read my own writing. Ugesk,
yes, Ugesk
declared himself the ruler of the star system,
despite us being well within Federation boundaries.
Right.
Packlets.
Friggin' Packlets. And then a Romulan warbird decloaked and scared them. And we left them to their own devices.
Which is a thing that they should do. Romulan warships should scare you.
Yes.
And decloak on the other side of the neutral zone in super menacing fashion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's what they do.
It's what they do.
The Packled ship was fairly large, if I remember, near our size. Which is that unusual for Packleds? I thought Packled ships were usually smaller.
I mean, your ship isn't really that big. You're only size 4, right? Source 5.
That's true.
5.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're not in a galaxy or anything.
Yeah, you're a moderately sized ship. They're a fairly moderately sized ship. Large for Packleds, not large for Federation.
Yeah. Cool. But they also had some fancy NOS system set up and sped into the neutral zone, and they had Romulan and Klingon disruptors and a potential Orion warp signature. So they were all over the place.
Yep.
As Packleds are.
It's when you cobble stuff together, Right. Anything else?
Yes. Then we went back to Lupex Platinum, who was a little messed up. And Mills Tong and Yezebeth went over to the ship to fix their stuff. We discovered that their cold storage seemed a bit odd. The manifest didn't quite match the readings we were getting. We discovered that they were actually hiding, hauling, storing, transporting.
They were hiding. Yeah.
They were hiding.
And in exact secret agent Tong, his how he is, would not leave well enough alone and insisted to poke around.
What did we break?
The module, we overloaded the connection that was siphoning life support from the refrigeration system into the life support module.
Yep. Which the Daimon was very upset about. But we uncovered and unfroze the Antedians, who were also very distraught. But it seemed like they were actually there of their own free will and had requested to transport themselves that way. We were very helpful and escorted them to Starbase 173. since that's where they were going,
Well,
in theory.
Who'd have thunk the fish like their sardine can?
but they did say they were on their way to Orion space, but there is no legitimate Orion space in this area.
Right.
Only Syndicate stuff, Orion Syndicate stuff. So we politely insisted that we take them back to Starbase 173 and get it all sorted out.
Correct. Hang on one second. I apparently need to turn off my notifications so that they don't wind up on everything we do. All right, there we go. All right, anything else anyone wants to add? That sounds about like everything we got.
I think it's everything.
The Pack-Leds did warp galactic south, and we alerted Narendra in case they get in more trouble.
Right.
They show up again.
So as we open, you've spent some time on station 172, I believe is what the station was. 173, sorry. Things have been good. You've gotten repairs, any repairs that need to be done, that kind of thing. And you're getting ready to set out again. Back into the wild yonder that is space in this region. Did you have anywhere particularly you wanted to go? Did you guys have a plan to stick around in this sector? Did you want to move on to a different sector? We didn't discuss at the end of last session where we wanted to pick up this session. So that might be a good opportunity to have the crew sitting down, or at least the first officer and the XO. The first officer and the XO are the same person. The first officer and the CO having a discussion as to what you plan to do next, maybe in the ready room. What do you think of that?
We should definitely have that discussion, but as a reminder, before the Pack-Led issue and all that, we were flying the colors around the neutral zone on our way to the Expanse proper to check on Haliroon Station again.
Right.
That was our... and if we can pick up any secret distress signals or secret Romulan communications along the way, bonus.
Right. So if we want to continue on to Haliroon Station, that's something we can definitely do. Let's go ahead and have the conversation, a conversation between the captain and XO, just to whatever you guys want to get done right there, and then we'll do our opening credits, and then we'll jump in. If you guys want to have, you can also have anyone else you want to have discussing the plan, because I know we talked about having a greater discussion of the future missions and whatnot. So.
Well, we're not really working on any new information.
Right. It's more of a hashing out if you want to continue on to Haliroon Station, that's fine. We can just do that. I just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, we had a couple.
Go ahead, Brian. What's that?
We had a couple plot hooks that we had been given in the first session.
Yes.
Follow up on.
Yeah.
And I think we already had that discussion, or maybe I just strong-armed us in that direction. I don't remember.
We did not have that discussion.
Okay.
You had kind of strong-armed us. The last discussion I remember having was we're going to fly the colors and see what we see, which Dasavi was kind of concerned was code for we're going to find the colors and I'm going to go rescue my girlfriend.
Well, is it worth having the conversation now, or do you guys want to just head on to the station? What did you want to do? Is the question, is what I'm asking. Because if you want to head right onto the station, I have stuff for that. If you want to have something else you want to do, I can do that. I just need to know where we're starting the session.
Yeah, Ev, as XO, would you want to talk about that? Because I don't think Ambrose has any new information or orders or questions. We're just continuing on with what we were already planning on doing. It's been a month for us, but it's been like 3 hours for him. So
right. No, I don't think so. She said her piece.
Yeah.
Because we had that conversation 2 sessions ago with her warning, like giving her forewarning, like, hey, make sure you're using your head
right
and being logical about this. So I don't think there's really anything more
I
that
do-
she would say.
I do definitely want to call senior officers meeting, but let's go to the station first and just get something for that meeting to be about.
All right. In that case, let's go ahead and just do the intro. All right.
I'm
So
trying to.
that's all right. We can pick up with you guys heading to the Haliroon station. Anything that anybody wants to do right before we get there, we can have that happen. But you're en route to Haliroon. Last you remember,
I thought you meant Station 173. I thought there was.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I thought there was a conversation there or something going on there.
oh no, I didn't have anything at 173. That was more of a just to let you guys pick up and see what you want to do.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Um,
Never mind. We should call a meeting to talk about Haliroon then.
Right. So we're en route to Haliroon Station, and I will go ahead and put you guys in a room for that. So I'm assuming senior officers.
Yeah, since we're kind of time skipping, I think we may have offered to like escort colonists because the Haliroon station is being habited, right?
Correct. Colonists are beginning to move that way. Yes.
Okay, so since we're going that way anyway, it makes sense for us to ride escort on some colonists headed that way.
Sure.
Okay.
They'd probably have their own ship, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, but even then, if we're going that way anyway, let's protect them.
Right.
Just for Jack's knowledge, what were the other quests we were given? Because I think I focused on Haliroon and I've lost all of the other ones.
Right. So there was the Haliroon station thing, and then there was the information about the other colonists going out to this area that was discovered recently that had a lot of planets. The colonists weren't headed there yet, but there was a section of space that there were a lot of planets discovered by probe.
Right, but that was also out past Haliroon.
Correct.
So that's on the way too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was mostly it. There was the background information of what was going on with the Klingons, the Romulans, Haliroon Station becoming something that is being utilized by Starfleet now, and that people are going to colonize, or at least use as a launching point for future colonization. Right. And then the stuff beyond that. So
yeah, I if I remember correctly, there was no other reason to go any other direction. So we went in this direction because it was either Haliroon Station or going past Haliroon Station.
Right.
Or am I forgetting?
So you kind of went up and around the other way. Haliroon Station and all that's over to the one side, over to the eastern side. You guys went along the western front up to the eastern side. But it's not a big deal. You went to do that to fly the flag and all the other stuff. So
okay.
Wasn't a straight path, but yes.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with Haliroon. We're just now escorting colonists, and there was talk about reintegrating the SSH, right?
Correct.
There's no crisis or anything.
SSH, there was concern that the Federation is moving too quickly because instead of taking the time to suss it all out and make sure everything's still kosher, they're like, oh no, let's just colonize.
Yeah.
Like colonists do.
The air is breathable. Flag.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, there have been no major crises that anyone can recall on Haliroon Station, or that have been announced anyway on Haliroon Station, other than a huge influx of people going to the station where the station may or may not be ready for that. So,
do we have any more preliminary information on any of these M-class worlds that were detected?
Not yet.
Anything else in the room? No.
No,
Okay.
just that there is that going on, and they want you guys to go investigate further.
Okay. Yeah, so let's call a senior staff meeting in the briefing room.
Okay.
So obviously, Captain, First Officer Oniet, and Yesbeth, right?
Yep.
Anyone else have a reason to be there?
Kostra probably would have declined the invitation.
The Coaster and Koba and Mills.
Yeah.
Dr. Foxwell will also be there.
Foxwell will be there. If either of you want your security officers there, it would make sense to have at least one of them, but you'd be playing two people potentially.
They'd be mostly silent background people, unless.
Yeah. And since Kostra declined, he may have sent Tong just as an engineering representative, so he can hang out in the background.
Sure, if you want Tong there, yeah.
Okay.
So, Elizabeth will go ahead and display a holographic representation of the station above the table, just for dramatic effect.
Is that something Yesbeth made?
Yeah, based on sensor readings from the last time they were there.
All right.
I had an image of it in the other system. I don't have one in this one. So just remember that it looks really big.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
We're continuing our way on to Haliroon Station, escorting these colonists. I imagine it'll be a short stop off, but I wanted to call a meeting and ask for opinions. Last time we were there, it was quite a whole thing, but I'm not sure they really have any use for us. However, there seems to be quite a treasure trove of sensor data to sort through and explore out past that way. So I figured that would be something fun for especially Yesbeth here on sensors. Interesting emotions towards the hologram.
Can I do a science roll and say that this is something I've read in my off time before this meeting, and then we can just do Q&As about these planets based on the information that Starfleet already has?
Sure. There's not a ton of info because it's mostly just sensor data from probes, but sure.
Sure.
Go ahead and
would be good to present at the meeting.
Yeah, go ahead and make the roll. You've got 6 momentum already, so.
All right. Go ahead and use one of those momentum. That is 5 successes. So anybody can use those QAs.
Plus the ship. So.
Oh yeah. Well, the ship wouldn't have been the one doing the readings. It would have been.
Right, but it would have been as far as getting the information, the data to you, and everything else with the AI and yeah.
Sure.
So
you want a ship roll?
Yeah, you can add the ship on.
Sensors science?
Sure.
1 dice. I have to remember how to use this sheet. I think I'll click this button.
All right, chip didn't help anyway.
No, all right.
So you've got 5.
Oh, that's a 20. That's a complication.
Okay.
If it matters.
So some of the information may not be 100% accurate.
Cool. Elizabeth will bring up the information we do have. How many planets are there estimated to be?
So the Starfleet doesn't have a direct number of ships or of planets. What you've got is there are about a dozen systems that have at least 5 planets each. Some of the moons may be class M as well, or at least inhabitable. But it's just a huge number of potentially class M worlds. Starfleet's initial findings is it looks like there might be as many as 50.
Wow. Captain, well, the range of planets is just phenomenal. It may not even just be worlds that are Class M. It might be moons themselves. Some estimates are as high as 50.
In 5-star systems.
That's what the readings show. But I figure Starfleet wants to get us to get a closer look to confirm that.
Right. I'm that's not my area of expertise, but that does sounds like an unusually high concentration of livable worlds.
Another question: have they detected any signs of advanced civilization?
The planets, as far as they can tell, do not have any radio communication or anything along those lines. They haven't gotten close enough for like in-depth surveys. Yeah,
sure.
But they're not reading any kind of like warp signatures. There's no. Well, that's only kind of true. There is evidence of warp. Of warp things in the region, but they've also seen the Aren in that system, which are the space whales.
Space whales.
There don't seem to be any signs of civilization, but there are some signs that maybe the Aren, the whale creatures we encountered earlier in our mission, may have traveled through the system. But as far as we can tell, nobody else has explored this area.
Not currently, or not anymore. Our archaeologist and anthropologist might get lucky and we'll find a treasure trove of ruins or something. I doubt the space whales are terraforming these planets.
You never know, Captain.
You never know. That's true.
Given the proximity to this Haliroon station, it makes sense that perhaps whatever civilization here cultivated life, maybe terraformed some barren worlds to suit their needs.
It's a good point. We could definitely use more information on those people. Unfortunately, much of that was lost at Haliroon.
Mm-hmm.
You got 3 more.
Yeah. Are there any significant spatial anomalies like black holes or?
There's a large nebula on the. They sort of almost orbit a large nebula that is quite turbulent.
What's interesting here is the planets seem to be or the systems themselves seem to be revolving around this location. You'll zoom it in. It's some kind of nebulonic turbulence.
We should investigate at a safe distance. Launch another probe.
Yeah, the worlds are not within the nebula, but they're close to the nebula.
Right.
Kind of Bajor in the Badlands kind of thing.
Are they rotating around it? You made it sound like they were orbiting.
Because that would be unusual.
No, they're not directly orbiting around it, no, but they're kind of in a pseudo-orbitus. Like the orbits of the things are all kind of connected. You can tell there's some kind of interconnectivity. Either maybe some of the worlds were...
Their gravity is interacting on
the gravity is definitely interacting.
Okay.
So
it could be related. It could not. It could be related. We'd have to get a closer look to know for sure.
Of course. I assume you can work with our navigation team, Silva, plot a proficient course to check all of these systems out.
I'll get started on the most efficient route to cover the most planets.
Very good.
Is there any specific priorities we want to worry about?
If possible, I think it would be prudent to start with the worlds that would seem unlikely to be naturally Class M. Things outside that golden zone.
The most anomalous planets.
Right.
Q&A question.
Extra higher concentration of livable worlds.
Gotcha. Q&A question. Are there any worlds that we detected that seemed particularly unusual in any of the systems?
The biggest unusual thing you would find is that there is around the 5th planet, I think, of one of the systems, roughly where Jupiter would be, in our system, there are a number of moons that are class M, and that is unusual. The planet, the planet itself is not habitable, but there are a number of planets a number of moons that are on it that are class M.
Is the planet like a gas giant?
Yes.
Okay. This gas giant seems to have a number of habitable worlds around it. Truly, I doubt that this could be coincidence, Captain.
Right.
Are you sure they're not sensor misreadings? That
I can't say for certain. The probes was notoriously these long distance probes can be notoriously unreliable. I figure that's why Starfleet wants us to go take a look.
That's why we're here. I think we should also keep an eye out for dormant artificial stations, satellites, space stations, derelict ships, anything that might not currently be giving off any easily detectable signals, but with such a high concentration of livable worlds, there might not be anything current here, but with so many class M areas, I would assume there would be space stations, sensor satellites, communication grids.
When we get to Haliroon, I can take a metallurgic scan of the station itself. Might be able to help us detect any other stations that lie dormant within the area.
It's a good idea, and also brings up a worry after everything that happened there. Can you work with Tong to make sure that our firewalls are appropriate to deal with any additional possible AI incursion from similar technology?
Sure. Yeah, I don't see why not.
Especially with EVA in its current state.
I suspect, Dr. Foxwell says, there shouldn't be any real difficulties with creating a more robust firewall system. EVA has a great amount of resource of knowledge when it comes to the encounter that happened at the Haliroon station previously. I believe that I can create a more robust structuring.
Very good. We should also make sure that her backup storage is properly protected and perhaps even isolated. It was required the last time we dealt with this problem.
Of course.
Go ahead.
No, that was it. Just of course.
I had a quick out of character question.
Mm-hmm.
Can we name these things, or is that something you want to do?
Name the planets. You can name them all you want.
Okay, cool.
They have names, but they're not Starfleet names. You can name them whatever you want.
I mean, it helped with talking about it. Other than like that, hey, that big gas giant we were talking about
right.
a minutes ago.
Yep.
Bob.
Let's see. I think the we could call the nebula the maelstrom. Does that work for y'all?
It actually works out quite well because that's actually what it's called. So,
surely by
nicely done.
Nebula. Cool.
And we could call the gas giant Alpha 6. Does that work?
Works for me. It is the
said it was the 5th planet, right?
It would be the same as Jupiter, whatever Jupiter is. So you got Mercury.
It's an ironic name.
You've got Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars,
Jupiter,
and then Jupiter, right? So it'd be 5.
Yeah.
So what we call it J6.
J6.
Or 5, because it's the 5th one.
Oh, it's the 5th one. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
J5.
Sure. J5. The J5 constellation. That's good. It's a constellation of planets or of moons.
Right. So it'd be J5 is the. I got you. You call it whatever you want.
The J5 system, because it'd be a lunar system.
Right.
I believe that's it. Might name more as we discover.
Yeah.
I love naming shit. Actually,
right.
could I could I get a doc? Just not a doc, but like a note in Roll20. Yeah, that I can just note this stuff.
Yeah, how do I do that? Something I can do?
Yeah, just create a handout and make it editable by me or everybody.
Handout can be edited by all players. I will just call it mystery note. There you go.
Perfect. You didn't need to make it visible to me too. Sorry.
Shut up. Show to everyone. There you go.
Cool. Thanks. We should come up with a name for this whole cluster. Maybe
it has been referred to as the Valley of Plenty by the Starfleet researchers who found it. But you can name it whatever you want.
That's a good enough name for me.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. All right. Well, did anybody else have anything? I think I had at least one more question left.
You have one more.
We can bank it for momentum to replace the one I took.
Okay.
Okay.
I will turn to Foxwell, who is Lieutenant. Yes, Lieutenant. With your expertise in AI, you may be familiar with our SSH. His original program was copied onto Haliroon, and it's been quite a while. I imagine the two personality matrices have diverged quite a bit. Do you foresee any problems with reintegration, or will they be distinct entities at this point?
Well, they're not true AI, so we could certainly reintegrate them and overlap their programming. The more advanced of the two, the one that has created the most memory pathways, would be the more dominant of the two, but we could run some scripts that would allow for a more uniform integration. But they're very limited AIs. They're not, it's pretty basic AI material there that we're working with.
Well, get started with whatever programming you may need to help facilitate that.
Do you want them integrated equally, or kind of an as we go, we'll decide kind of thing?
Let's leave our options open.
All right.
I want to know what this new SSH has experienced on Haliroon. They've definitely been performing well beyond their initial parameters.
Yes. Which brings me to EVA as well. There have been a number of instances where I believe this AI has become contaminated in some ways from its experiences. I've noted something from a inverse. You had traveled into past an event horizon and encountered another EVA there, as well as the encounter with Haliroon Station, and the several times that EVA has diverged into the backup systems of the shuttle system. It may be wise to consider targeted reboots of the EVA system.
Can you explain that further? Wouldn't that lead to essentially memory loss?
It would, more or less. But again, with the corruption of the data, it might be easier to viably understand the growth of this AI, measurably understand the growth of this AI going forward. There are some concerns that your crew have brought up with the way that the AI has functioned, given the SSH or the medical hologram, as well as the experiences that this AI has been fixating on things of the death of your previous captain and things like that. It may be wise to find a more level ground to start this AI, to continue this AI's progression. The machine has exceeded, I believe, our design specifications originally, and While I have not had time to speak with Dr. Maddox, I believe this would be his recommendation.
I'm going to look over to Onayet, and you can definitely feel conflict in Ambrose. Foxwell makes a lot of logical sense from a security standpoint. It sounds like a great idea to just reboot and start over, back up any hard data without any personality attachments, and keep going. But he has been begrudgingly coming over to the fact that Eva's probably sentient, and he personally has a problem with messing with people's minds and like actively removing or adding things. So he's going to look over to you because you look like you also have some words to say on this.
Yeah, no, those were all Dasabi's facial expressions the whole time Foxwell was speaking.
Empaths.
I think, Lieutenant, as leery as we have been about Eva and her potential to take control of the ship without our will, I think there are ethical implications we have to consider before simply rebooting her and setting her back to default. As you've said, she has exceeded your expectations and the parameters that you expected her to. I think some of that above and beyond may be a level of sentience that you and Dr. Maddox were prepared for.
I would be very hesitant to declare any of it as sentience. It is an advanced AI, the same as the doctor or as the SSH that you have. They may seem...
The doctor doesn't pop in to have random conversations or...
The doctor doesn't have the access to these things. It may seem that the EVA program has sentience, but it's an anthropomorphizing nature of humanity to do this kind of thing. I would be hesitant to go so far as sentience at this point. Anyways, there is still some discussion as to whether or not its original design comes from anything with capability of sentience, even though Starfleet had ruled that there may be some sentience. It was never clearly defined. And I think we need to be careful in assigning Europa a sentient system, as that is. The ethical implications thereof could also be quite dramatic. And again, this is a machine that we can simply unplug and reset at our whim. That
by all technicalities, we can simply unplug and reset anyone at a whim. We have the technology to do so.
Perhaps.
Doesn't mean we should. I think at this point, and she looks at Ambrose, I think this bears further exploration.
Tong is also in the background, like wearing a button off of a pad, like just doing that wiggle thing, like real nervous tick. Ambrose is just going to nod, but I think Tong is going to have a little bit of an outburst here. He's going to lean forward. She's real. You can't just take memories away. How would you like if you forgot all of your training?
Tong.
The lieutenant brings up an excellent point, but again, at the moment, I'm only suggesting targeted resets of subsystems of the system of EVA, and it's something I can work around for the moment while you contemplate further. However, again, since we do not necessarily understand the full implications of some of the things we're seeing from the EVA system, from the synapse, we don't necessarily know how it will progress in the future, as again, we are beyond some of the design specifications. I can only speculate as to the potential risk-reward that the Europa will face without doing some of these resets.
You make a lot of good points. Lieutenant. I will definitely keep them under advisement, but I also think it's important to remind myself, as well as everybody else, exactly what our reason for being out here is, and that is primarily to find new life, new civilizations, new people. We may be verging on something like that, whether it's a conundrum of our own creation. We are, as you said, we don't know where this program stands. And until we figure that out, I think the Prime Directive would dictate that we don't take undue action to tamper with the development of a possibly sentient, possibly growing new mind.
But if we ask Eva, she might be okay with it.
Well, and that will be part of the exploration.
It is certainly an option. However, you don't always give a child the choice in its upbringing and care. However, until we come to some sort of further conclusion, I can simply work around the current issues. I will be having to take several of the biogel packs offline for a few days, just to complete some more advanced diagnoses. But I expect no complications.
I would say get everything prepared for whatever procedures you deem necessary, but hold off until we know more.
Very well. He kind of goes back to his pad and...
Do we have any more concerns about our current route, about Haliroon? Anything beyond?
I don't believe so.
All right, well, then I'll leave it to you, Yezbeth, to keep our sensors looking in every direction.
I'll see what I can dig up before we get there.
Very good. If you find anything that even remotely looks like evidence of previous civilization, go ahead and pass that on to our anthropology team. Be a good idea to keep them in the loop.
Yes, Captain.
Okay, dismissed everyone.
Okay.
Dasavi will walk out with Tong and just kind of wander with him wherever he's going.
Okay.
I was going to give you a mental reading on him, but he's Ferengi, and you can't.
Yeah, no, can't.
So,
Are you like stalking in the background? Like, how are you following Tong? Because
Oh no, she's just walking with him. She's not like stalking him.
Like, there's no reason for the doctor to follow him back to engineering.
I know.
Okay.
Just walking next to him, not saying anything.
Yeah.
Silently.
I don't think you need to be empathic to notice that he's growing increasingly nervous.
When we get clear of the bridge and all the people and have a moment of privacy.
The turbo lift.
Well, yeah, as soon as you get in the turbo lift.
Yeah. He's keeping to himself. He's got that pad that he's still like.
He's now broken a button off of.
Yeah, he's broken the button off. He's like, oh no, trying to put it back together.
Well, you'll have something to do, I suppose. You okay?
Yes, doctor. I am well. Thank you.
She just looks at you dubiously. It doesn't take an empath to see that you are not. I know you and Eva are close. I can imagine the thought of her being rebooted is clearly very distressing.
It just doesn't feel right.
Foxwell is quite the polar opposite of Lieutenant Shabarnea.
Yeah.
It's a hard adjustment, I would imagine.
Yeah. I wish she had stayed on. I understand why she had to go and all that, but I think we'd all be better off, especially Eva, if she was still around. You know, Foxwell turned off her voice. Like, who does that? I wouldn't want somebody turning off my voice. I probably shouldn't have said
turn
that.
the CMH off at times.
Yeah.
He's far more annoying than Eva is, though.
I've heard. Yeah.
I'm inclined, given her growth, to lean more on Lieutenant Shabarneva's side of things. We will certainly, before allowing any reboots, do everything in our power to make sure that she either is or is not sentient. If she is sentient, I cannot, in good conscience.
Well, how do you know? How do you know that I'm sentient? How do I know that you're sentient? She speaks just as well as you do.
True. Better sometimes. The line between sentient and not sentient with artificial beings is very fuzzy. And this is a question that philosophers far greater than us have debated for centuries upon centuries.
I don't understand why humans make such a big deal about creating these AIs and whatnot, and then, you know, every time they do something that, you know, they didn't expect, they just turn them off.
Fear, ego, frustration with themselves.
Well, I think we do a lot of talking about Eva, without a lot of talking to Eva.
You're right. I think that Lieutenant Hage's suggestion to speak to Eva is a good one. I think I will try to reach out to her in my own way. I don't know if it'll work, but if it does, I'd say that would be definitive proof of sentience. Something has emotions, it's sentient.
I think if we just talk to her like she's a person and not like a wall console, you know, you'll get a lot more out of her.
Not wrong.
Kostra has me working on recalibrating some of the warp coils, so I should probably go do that.
Lieutenant.
About the time the turbolift door opens.
Right. The commander scares away.
We'll go back up to
the bridge.
I suppose. Yeah.
All right. Anyone else have a scene they want to do? I think, Brian, you said it sounded like you were going to do one.
I have something. It's less of a scene and more of a mechanical thing.
Sure.
Our ship has the talent modular laboratories.
Yes.
Yezbeth is going to take the time in transit to configure those modular laboratories to be set up for planetary survey.
Sure.
One room will be set aside to have drones that can be dropped into a planet's atmosphere to do quick surveys. One's going to be set up to do like analysis on artifacts or things that are be set up, and another one will be configured towards like studying biological readings and that kind of thing.
Right. Earth planetary sciences, that kind of stuff. So that does what? That gives you advantage on stuff, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. And that's everything that they wanted to bring up before we get into the Haliroon station area. All right.
I think it would be good to have a conversation with the SSH, but I can't do it.
Right.
I mean, I can, but I already take up too much time myself.
Right.
No. You can always, as far as I'm concerned, you can always ask for a scene with one of your characters.
Oh no, I just mean Ambrose talking to the SSH.
Right. So I think
that conversation
that would actually probably fall to Yezebeth, since she is leaning towards the operations department now, and that would be an ops thing.
That would be an ops thing.
If you have anything you would want to talk to him about, but concerns with reintegrating a separate personality. We
can implement both scenes. Like maybe she's relying on his help getting the inventory set up to set up the laboratories, and she'll start asking him about reintegration while they're doing that.
Sure.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Sure.
So she's going to him, and she's going to say, do we have any of those J-35 quad thrusters? I mean, I could get some replicated, I know, but I wanted to see if we had any in store.
We do have a few spare laying around.
Good. I'll take as many as you've got. If you could just send them to the laboratories, I'll put I'll put them to good use.
I don't think as many as you got is anything I can put on the official paperwork. Please give me a number, and then I can fabricate near limitless numbers of these.
Well, let's see. Okay, 10 drones with 4 engines each, so that'd be 40. Can you make that happen?
Easily doable.
Good. So, hey, how do you feel about the upcoming? Well, we're gonna be finding you again.
I have been here on the ship.
Well, yeah, but there's another you there. Have you considered what that's going to be like?
I'm sure that program has been keeping up with his duties, as I would have.
Sure, but integrating it into yourself, that's got to be, well, quite the experience.
I would not know.
No, I guess you wouldn't. Maybe it's something like the joining process. You're sure that other person's you, but you are getting memories that are unfamiliar. Maybe I can help. Do you?
I'm not sure how similar those instances would be. Again, I would not know.
Well,
it should be a simple reincorporation of raw data.
Sure, in theory, yeah, but you're going to be having double the experiences of double the time.
That sounds quite efficient.
I suppose efficient's one way to put it. Are you looking forward to it at all?
I look forward to making sure that this ship has everything it needs in proper order and in proper quantity at the proper time. As to what this other program looks forward to, I can't speak of, but from what I understand, it is performing a job much more big picture.
All right, well,
I spend most of my time in my own office when needed.
Sure. Yeah, I would assume so. Well, if things don't end up going according to plan, or if you just want to talk to somebody, I maybe it is more like joining than either of us would have thought. You can always talk to me, or if your program needs a tweak, I can help you with that too.
Very good. It is encouraging to know that I can be properly maintained as well.
That's what I'm here for. Maintain. Good luck. I mean that.
I'm not sure luck has any factor in the reincorporation of two programs.
Then I hope the transition is smooth.
You would have to speak to the new lieutenant about that.
I'll make sure and talk to him about it. And those engines. I need those engines.
I've already begun the replication process. You can pick them up at 1700 hours.
Your dream. And she...
I assure you, I am very much real.
Yeah, okay. I got you. Was there anything more you wanted out of that scene?
No. I think that's good. Would you dismiss him, turn him off, or would the SSH have, because I imagine just like early Voyager, like the SSH does not have the capability to come and go as he please.
Whatever would be standard protocol, I think should do, unless he specifically asked to be left on.
I think
to turn him off.
They're looking at you.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think she'd turn him off then. See you on the other side. And she'll turn him off.
All right.
I'd love to see the progression of the SSH, but
Sure.
since we haven't had much, I assume he spends most of his time turned off, just like the EMH, until somebody needs something replicated or a ledger filled out.
Right.
Very, out of character. I'm very excited for him to be ready.
Oh, yeah.
All right. With that, the ship... Oh, man, hang on. There we go. There's definitely some upload issues today with the speeds. Weird. With that, the Europa will arrive at Haliroon Station. Let's go ahead and take 5, though.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Come back to this here. And 5 minutes after our 5-minute break ended, we are back. Oh yeah, I have sound. Okay, good. All right. So
I engaged the human.
What's that?
It's my fault. I engaged the human.
Yes. Jackie had made an appearance in the blurby parts of your green screen while you were gone. So with that, we left off with the crew heading to Haliroon Station. Europa arrives at Haliroon Station. It is the big, impressive station that we remember from before. I do not have an image of it because it was kept over in Fantasy Grounds. And I never got around to moving it because that's how good I am at this. So the station is a massive, imposing structure that is... Haliroon Station was the one that was around the black hole, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Being powered by.
Yes. Drawing power from and being powered by, essentially, a large black hole. The station is quite large, as I said. There are a number of starships around it. They are mostly colonization ships. There are a number of worker drones, worker bees, not worker drones, worker bees, and small shuttlecraft flitting around the outside, tending to repairs of the main structure, the superstructure of the station. There's a lot more power on the station than before. You can see that most of the decks are actually functional. or at least reading as functional. And you are getting a number of life sign readings from aboard the station. A lot of humans, mostly. And as you approach, you are contacted by a familiar voice that sounds like the SSH, requesting or reaching out to determine your docking status, essentially.
Is this a hail, or is this just
It is a
computer talking to navigation?
It is computer talking to navigation.
Okay.
Mostly 'cause-
Silva, will-
Yeah. Go ahead.
Silva will put in. Will give him the approach and follow his orders for a geosynchronous orbit.
Okay.
I guess it wouldn't be geosynchronous since it's a space station. You know what I mean?
Right. It's synchronous orbit still.
Yeah.
All right.
All of these, repair craft and whatnot, are they all Federation, or does it look like they are attempting to use station technology?
No, it's all Federation currently.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, it's all Federation.
Do we have a name for the new commander of this station?
Officially, no. There is it was something probably you should have had though. Give me 1 second.
Theoretically, there should be at least a Starfleet commander.
Yeah, somebody in charge.
Yes.
Yeah, right, like an early day Cisco.
Mhm.
Let's see. A question that totally slipped my mind. So
Unless you want the SSH in charge, because that's going to really determine his personality.
right, no, he is in charge. The SSH is in charge of all computer function at the moment. Essentially taking over for the old AI.
What was the holographic network in this station? Would the new SSH have spent most of his time disembodied, or would he have been capable and encouraged to walk around and actually engage with things, likely because of staffing shortages?
Well, there was no holographic projectors, but what he had the option of being able to basically port himself into most of the robots that are there. So
Okay.
he had his own function, but then all of the maintenance droids that were not like the one interface that you had encountered, but like all the other service droids and the big, combat droids and stuff, he could mark into any of the, and move into any of those anytime he wanted.
Yeah, but he hasn't been himself in all this
Correct.
time.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to get a gauge of where his head is, and we'll probably have to have a further conversation about how this is going to affect how he's developed.
Right. All right. Let me come up with this real quick. Add character. Otak Aho. I don't have a picture at the moment, but that will be your name, Commander Otak Aho. CMDR. OTAKAHO. And it'll be a Boolean. And I will come up with a photo at some point, but I don't have one currently.
Okay.
Anyways, you are in orbit around the station. And you are contacted by the SSH, or in this case, the station's AI, which is, the SSH. Do you want to hail the station at all? What do you guys want to do? They have not hailed you.
Yes, I would hail the station.
Okay. On screen is a nervous-looking Boolean. Commander.
So Bolian.
So Bolian. I'm not never looked nervous. But anyway, a nervous-looking Bolian. Yes, Commander, Captain, my Captain, Starship Europa. Welcome to Haliroon Station. I am Commander Aho, and we've been looking forward to your return.
Commander Aho, very good. Pleasure to be here. I'm sure we'll be exchanging personnel shortly. I know we have a number of colonists and civilians, perhaps replacements, coming aboard as we speak.
Yes, of course, and there are a number of colonists who I've been dealing with. I'm sorry, Captain. There's a lot going on here.
Is there a situation?
No, sir. It is just a lot of people coming in, and not a lot of living spaces aboard station. They've been setting up shanty towns around the habitat ring. The issue is simply just the number of people and the amount of resources the Starfleet has given me.
Mm. Is there any way we can be of service while we're here?
I could certainly use the replicator's space. We will need to replicate a great deal more, mostly farming equipment, honestly.
We'll see what we can do. We're en route to another mission, but it'll be some time exchanging personnel, and I'm under the impression that we will be returning our SSH program back to this ship. Is that going to impact your own performance?
That's a very good question. I had not considered what would happen once the SSH was removed. We'll certainly have to figure out what we're doing. There is no alternative AI at the moment, and the station does run largely on AI. But I'm certain we can figure something out before you remove the SSH. There we go. Show it to everyone. There you go, Commander Aho.
If this would be a serious detriment to the station, we can leave this version of the SSH where it is for the time being. I just figured with how established this station has become, at least from what I've heard, that you'd have had, or at least wanted, your own systems up and running by now.
We certainly have wanted it, and perhaps your science team can assist us in getting something more functional online. We do have our own automated programs, much like your SSH, that are beginning to come online here. We could implement one of them. It's simply something, Commander. I didn't have a timeline, and so it was constantly being moved farther down the ladder of priority.
Of course. Yesbeth, Foxwell, would you be able to assist in any way while we're here?
Yes, Captain. I believe I can find some. I think we can find something. Yes.
Both very proficient with programming and experience with AI and other such programs. Should be able to help the transition.
Excellent. We'll be looking forward to these assistance. He looks off camera a little bit. Again, Captain, you and your crew are welcome aboard. I'm going to go take care of some minor issues. Appears that there has been a report of a theft. I must attend to it. My apologies, Captain.
Require any additional security personnel?
We should be able to handle a minor incident like this.
Well, don't let me take any more of your time.
Thank you, Captain. And then the screen cuts.
And I immediately turned to Dasavi with that questioning, did you get anything from him?
Aside from nervousness, what was she picking up?
Mostly just that. Like he clearly doesn't feel comfortable in the role he's in. He is newly appointed to both his rank and positions, so. And I think definitely over his head is a feeling you would get.
He's in over his head, but nothing terribly unusual given he is currently running a space station in the middle of nowhere with
Most
very
advanced
unique technology.
Right,
Yes.
the most advanced unknown piece of technology we've attempted to incorporate into ours in a long time.
And underprepared, it sounds like, though likely no fault of his own.
Of course, does seem to be a bit of a gold rush for the Federation, and Starfleet can only do so much to stem that tide. As your new role as first officer, I'll leave it to you to coordinate the exchange of personnel, make sure that they're getting the resources that they need, and coordinate with our SSH to make sure that their requisition orders are taken care of. Yesbeth, we briefly talked about this in the meeting. Do you have any recommendations or reservations as to the reincorporation of the SSH now that we're here? I assume you and Foxwell can work between the Europa and on site there to facilitate matters.
I remember the work that Jorad did getting the SSH set up in the first place. I think we can rig up something that will have an interface with a standard Starfleet vocal interface.
I'll leave that to you.
All right, Captain. Should I take any? Should I take over an away team?
Take whoever you feel you need.
All right. So she'll come Tong and I think O'Connor. So that way, because just to make sure that like the ecology of the station's intact, we might as well do that while we're there.
And I'll be very excited to go back because she was just getting to the good stuff when some evil robot tried to kill us all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, we're not working on any sort of timetable, but let's try to be efficient here.
Perfect. So we'll head to the. We'll bring some tools and head to the. We'll go straight to the AI chamber. Well, I guess we'll beam over to wherever they want to be. No, we should beam over some farm equipment too, or at least some industrial replicators. And so maybe we beam to where. I think it's safe to say we want to see where they're setting up. So let's beam there, and then we'll walk to the AI area.
Are those other, like, the other robots? Did they survive? Are they still there?
Yes.
Okay.
Although you did not hear anything really from them. You've not heard a lot about them.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, where's Starfleet setting up their like base of operations?
So Starfleet itself is near the main control system. However, that is not where the colonists are necessarily setting up.
Gotcha. Well, where would they direct us to be?
To the Starfleet encampment, most likely.
Okay. So we'll head to the Starfleet encampment. Is it in one of the ecological areas or in the station?
It is in the habitat ring, the ecological ring, near where the AI entrance was.
Gotcha. Okay. So perfect. Well, we'll beam there. When we beam over, what do we see?
Hang on one second. I'm trying to adjust this bit rate here so we get some actually visible stuff, because this stream is really bad. When you beam over, you see what looks like a fairly makeshift, not makeshift, but what you would normally expect to see like in a rapidly configured military base. There's a lot of temporary structures, and the buildings that are there are simple wooden structures and tent type structures, and there's a lot of technology stuff that's consoles and things that have been beamed over. There's a few industrial replicators off to the one side. There's a number of security officials, but mostly it looks pretty standard for a logistics station that's trying to get set up on like a combat world sort of thing.
Okay.
There's a lot of Starfleet soldiers, a lot of Starfleet enlisted personnel and Marine type personnel that are there. So as you approach, you are greeted by a couple of security officers who are armed with first of all, who all is going?
Tong, Yezebeth, and O'Connell.
Tong, Yezebeth, and O'Connell.
And I assume a narratively appropriate number of unnamed engineers.
Yeah. Engineers, security officers, all that. And O'Connor. All right. So as you are approaching, the security officers they're armed. The two that approach you are armed with Type 3 phaser rifles, which is pretty heavy for what you would expect, given that this is a Starfleet station, or it is now a Starfleet station. But as they approach, they raise their hands for you to stop and then shout out, identify yourselves.
We're the Ensign Hage. We're from the Europa away team.
The one consults his data pad real quick and talks to the other ones. You can't really hear. Well, Tong can hear. They're talking about, I don't see it on my list, but these keep coming in. More people coming from every starship that comes in here, and they don't ever put anything on the paper, and just complaining about not having proper clearances and things like that they're not getting the paperwork they need. And then they run something on the he types something quickly on the on his pad, and then, all right, I've got you. Come on in.
Thanks. We should probably speak with your commander.
Yes. It's been difficult to get communication going here. We've had a lot of trouble with people identifying themselves early. The commander is a very busy man, apparently.
Well, we're here to make his life a little more busy, I guess.
Yeah.
And then hopefully a whole lot easier, maybe.
Hopefully. I think Foxwell is also with you guys.
The chain of command on this away team is all over the place.
It would probably be... I would say Elizabeth is probably in charge of this one, because she is the closest thing to ops, even though she's ensign.
Even though she's the lowest rank here.
Lowest rank. She's the operations is the primary lead department. So
that's Star Trek for you.
Is there anything where we can send you? We don't have anything as to why you're here.
We're here to extract our quartermaster from the ship's computer, or from the station's computer, if you can believe that or not.
Oh, okay. Good luck with that. You'll want to speak with the engineering teams. And he points towards the main structure of the build of the station itself. Where the AI system, like in the hallways and all that stuff, the actual station portion of the station that surrounds that surrounds on the outside the habitat area. They're being there. I assume you know where the AI system is, but and he gives you directions. It's down around the corner, and like walk down there until you see the sign, and then take a left. And I mean, I'm sure you know where it is. The engineers are down there anyway. They can help you.
I remember the way. Thanks.
All right, gonna head that way then.
We will, unless O'Connor and Evic, not Evic, our science officer, wish to Foxwell, wish to split off and check out the ecological recovery.
No, O'Connor was actually about to say, you don't really need me for extraction. I will stay here if that's all right.
It's fine by me.
I, on the other hand, would like very much to see the AI system. The sooner we can get our hands into this process, the faster we can get it done.
Well, I think the two of us will head up to the AI center.
Probably?
3, assuming Tong is going with you.
3, yeah. Sorry, I thought. Wait. Yeah.
O'Connor is going to stay. Foxwell is going to go. It sounds like Tong and Elizabeth are going to go.
I figured Foxwell would stay as well, but that's fine. We can
go. Foxwell, being the AI guy, is going to go.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
O'Connor will keep one of the security officers with her.
Okay.
For smartness purposes.
Tong is gonna hang back and nudge over to the other security officer. So I understand you have a lot of people coming and going here. It looks to be that you're spread a little thin down here.
Well, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people coming and going from the station, so it's been a lot to keep track of.
Of course. Doesn't seem like you get a lot of time for your own personal relaxation.
I haven't had time off since I left the Endeavor, so yeah, no.
Oh, that's a real shame. Well, I'm sure you're all working very hard here. Of course, with the Europa here, we're a mighty fine ship, and well, with all these people coming and going, I'm sure with all the number of requisitions we have, if I happen to come across an extra bottle of whiskey or maybe a Dom Jot board, anything I think might be aid you in your own R&R, I'll let you know.
I appreciate it, Lieutenant. In fact, you let me know, and we might be able to work some kind of deal out.
Excellent.
Kind of nods and
beaming Ferengi Sharptooth smile.
Right.
He scurries off.
As he kind of raises his hand up and shouts at somebody, hey, you don't belong over there, and starts heading that way. You'll notice that on the surface let's go ahead and if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and we'll bring Kostra down, or Koba down, for a minute to be security.
Sure.
So that O'Connor isn't totally alone.
Yeah, you can absolutely be with her.
So the two of you staying on the surface area, or staying in the habitatable area, you notice that there are a lot of colonists. It feels like refugees almost. I mean, they're definitely not refugees. They're in much better condition than a refugee would be in, but that sense of that there's a sense of like discombobulation and like necessity, urgent necessity, coming from the area. And there's a lot of these colonists moving in and out of the area around the Starfleet section, with engineers and security officers and stuff moving around, trying to make sure that everything is moving as quickly as possible. But there's a definite disarray, or semi-controlled chaos that is going on in this area. So,
Never understand Starfleet's lack of patience. It's not like the station was going anywhere.
Well, we're the if we didn't move in, somebody else was gonna.
Nobody has moved in how many years?
True, but nobody had found it. What happens when the Romulans get word of this place?
I suppose, but what's the... I don't...
Look at it this way. We're on the fringes of the galaxy. It's good to have company.
Such a thing as too much company.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
There's such a thing as too much company.
Oof, I can't say I agree on that. Bolians love company. They have a word for isolationist Bolians. You know what we call them?
Humans?
Dead. They're
Oh.
dead Bolians.
Wow. We are very different people. I like a little bit of company. Sometimes the Tongo games are too much company.
Oof. Well, there's nothing wrong with, pairing off every now and then. Sometimes you and a friend are the best company. It's just being alone that's I don't jive with.
I want to be alone. Well, no, that's not true. Sometimes I want to be alone. But not always. But this is too.
If you say so. Frankly, I'd much rather have this crowd of people than giant robots trying to laser me.
Definitely that. I mean, of the two.
Of the two, much preferable.
with that, the group that is gone down into the bowels of the station, arriving at the engineer's post. There's a tall, I don't remember the name of the race, the one that have they're blue skinned with the fins and the air thing.
That's who I was thinking of when I made the nervous comment. Yeah, what are they called?
I can't remember what the race is called off the top of my head though. But one of those is standing there as you approach, and he takes a inhale off of his thing. I don't know what they're called, respirator.
A benzorite?
Benzorite, that's the
Benzites.
one. Benzites. Well done. I knew it was a B, but I couldn't remember what it was. But yes, benzite.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the benzite is there, and he takes the little hit off his thing. Lieutenant and ensign and lieutenant. I'm glad you're here. I've heard a great deal about your experiences aboard the Europa, and I'm excited to have you assisting with the SSH program. Well, you'll have to see when you come in. Is there anything I can offer you? A beverage of any kind? Something?
I think I'm okay.
We don't want to deplete any of your seemingly quite limited resources. We'll just get to work.
Are you growing crops here?
Many of the colonists have been attempting to try out new techniques in reclamation, and we've been running terraforming operations on the station in an attempt to undo some of the extensive damage that was done in the AI's decline.
Well, that's amazing. I'm so glad to hear that. By all means, we should. can't wait to see the SSH. I wonder how. Can't have changed that much, right?
I will let you come with me, please. And he escorts you down into the main area where the mother robot was at one time, and she's like, the body thing is still there. The corpse that is integrated into the system is still there, although Starfleet Medical has done a great deal to try to extract what they can. But yeah, there's otherwise there's an interface there. It is a robot similar to Interface 227 that you had encountered earlier, but it is a more up-to-date and functional, or it does not look to have gone native, as it were. It is an actual interface that the engineer officer looks and says, this has been obviously this is the area where the AI is primarily stationed and functional. This robot has been used as a vessel sometimes when the SSH is needed to be interactive. The station does not have any hollow projectors. Well, it has a few now, but it does not have very many hollow projectors in the system, so they've not been hooked to the primary AI. There's been some concern the commander has had that that it's not a fully clean system, and he doesn't want anything to happen where they would lose control of the station. I'm sure you have some similar experiences with the Europa. I've read about the EVA system, which is very, I'd like to see that if you don't mind. And in the meantime, there is computer, come online, please. At which point, Jack, you can do what you want to do.
Okay, they just refer to him as computer.
This guy does.
Okay.
You should correct him.
Okay, so I guess protocol is that the droid comes online then?
You can either interface as the droid or just as the computer, as this embodied computer, as you see fit, or terminals as you want.
Yeah, and in this instance, I think the voice just plays over all the local intercoms.
Okay.
What was this guy again? This wasn't Aho, was it?
No, he's just one of the engineers. I didn't name him. He's just one of the engineers that's tending to the systems.
Engineer, I must remind you that I am far more than the station's computer. But I am at your disposal. How can I help?
He kind of looks at you guys and kind of points. See, that's what I mean. This is the crew of the Europa, and they've come here to discuss possible reintegration of your systems back into your original programming with a replacement, I suspect, although I don't know what we're doing as far as that goes, of your systems so that we can continue functioning on the station. You are to give them whatever aid and assistance you can in their process.
I am, of course, familiar with them, and I anticipated this outcome.
Excellent. If you'll excuse me, everyone, I am going to go see to one of the many things on my list today. Thank you.
It's good to see you, SSH.
I think once he leaves the room, the droid will power up and walk over to the group.
Yeah.
It is good to see old shipmates. It has been quite a while.
Well, I just saw you yesterday, actually, but you seem doing well. She'll extend her hand to shake it, unsure if she should shake hand with the droid.
Foxwell pops the top of his scientific tricorder off, the almost medical tricorder, and begins just up and down scanning the robot.
I am not familiar with you. A new addition to the crew.
My name is Dr. Foxwell. I'm the head of artificial intelligence, for lack of a better term, as he keeps scanning you.
There's been some shakeups in the crew.
As I would suspect in such a time.
By the way, I should let you know I'm Yezebeth Hage now. Jorad gave his life defending the ship.
That is unfortunate. He was quite proficient in his field of expertise, invaluable in my initial integration into the system.
Well, luckily, you have me. And Captain Ambrose wants you back on the ship, so as soon as possible. By the way, yeah, I forgot to mention, Captain Ambrose.
Yes, with Hage's untimely departure, he would be next in line to take command.
Been doing that he is. So, how have your systems been functioning? Can you give me a diagnostic?
My systems have been functioning within established parameters. I cannot say the same for the station itself, nor, more importantly, the personnel who have been here.
What's wrong?
He says here with a drip of "they're in his way."
Oh.
Foxwell puts his thing away. It's fascinating. Goes over to one of the consoles and starts sitting and starts typing, just poking at the console.
I'm sorry to hear that. What's been the issue with the station?
We are incredibly short-staffed for the number of non-Starfleet personnel who have insisted on running about my station.
I'm sure that they're trying their best.
They're poking into systems that have not been properly secured or examined. It's dangerous and reckless.
They're just trying to get the lay of the land, I'm sure.
They're also incredibly irresponsible with the use of materials and do not properly fill out requisition forms.
Well,
it's difficult enough running a station without people who are unfamiliar with protocol or in complete defiance of it.
Well, then I've got good news. We're bringing you back to the ship.
It will be nice to get back to a proper Starfleet vessel.
Tom, why don't we go ahead and get these and get to work?
He'll direct the team over to whatever interface system would be used.
Perfect. I think one last thing we do is ask you what is necessary to get a replacement system in place. We've got to figure out how to get the station to run without you. Any ideas?
Well, aside from fragmenting my personality even more, I think a proper integration of a standard Starfleet computer system would be in order. However, if you did not bring an extra computer core, that is a whole other matter entirely.
Aha. Well, luckily, and she'll pull out a extra computer core. I have the right tool for the job. I have the talent, the right tool for the job. So I
look down at that. Aren't station computer cores like 4 stories tall?
Yes, but there are portable cores for things like shuttlecraft and stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
he says in a scoff.
I'm sure we'll have another one brought over. I think it's safe to say we would have brought one with us on the Europa. Well, because we knew.
Well, that wasn't necessarily the solution that was going to happen. Like, there's really there hasn't been a whole lot in the way of study as to what is going to actually be replacing the thing. The being able to create the computer cores, though, is something that Europa is capable of doing.
Okay, well, we'll work on getting you a permanent core. This will prove a good stopgap while we get you offline and back to the ship. You can help us design. You can help us design a computer core that'll suit the needs.
Well, without me here to facilitate matters, I'm sure that little computer core will be far superior to the current administration.
Perfect. Well, then let's get to work. So, would you like me to roll, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, we can do a. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and do a control and engineering roll to start getting the systems hooked up. The replacement system hooked up. The replacement core hooked up anyway. And then Foxwell and whatnot you guys can all begin trying to figure out what the next step in the best way to do the deintegration reintegration will be.
This sounds like an extended task. This is an extended task?
The first one won't be, the second one will be. So the getting the little core hooked up is not, but it will help you ask a bunch of questions if you need to.
What's the difficulty on getting the core hooked up?
Just a 1.
Okay.
Could I have the SSH assist in the same manner that the Starship would assist?
Yeah.
I'll spend a momentum.
Do I have the SSH in here? I do. Good. Control engineering.
I assume a computer's focus applies.
Yes. So that's 5 total successes. So 4 over, so that succeeds, and you have 4 momentum to spend on either asking questions related to the computer system, and really you can ask anything we want about this as far as the station or the integration or the computer itself goes, anything like that. Anything that's related to the topic at hand.
Are the environmental systems stable?
Yes. In fact, they are far better off than they were in your last visit here.
Terrific. Are the security systems still offline?
They are turned off, but they are functional. The AI has control over them. SSH has control over them.
Okay. What is the default that they will return to once the SSH is removed?
Based on everything you can gather between you and Foxwell and Tong and the SSH, the best you can tell is that once the SSH is removed, the station will function as a normal space station. The AI functions will all be disabled. Okay. So the security systems won't have any kind of functionality. The automated processors won't have any kind of anything. It'll just be a normal space station that runs like any normal space station would run.
When you say the automated processors, what do you mean?
So the ship had like the station had the processors that were like recycling the water systems and all of that stuff, like keeping the environmental systems renewed rather it was trying to anyways. It was obviously failing to do that when it was the old AI.
The people pulpers.
Yeah, the people pulper things that were pumping up dead people from underground. All of that stuff will just function on automation. It won't have any kind of finite control. It'll all be manual control like it would be on a starship or a normal space station. So there'll be no AI functioning to maintain the station. It would all become jobs that would have to be done by people. So
sure. Would that be something that we would be able to fix in the long run? You know, not necessarily now, but they'd be offline until we can interact with it.
Yeah, you could as you install a more advanced computer core, you can do more automation with it, or if you add some kind of self-integrated AI, if you continue to have some sort of AI there, you could also do that.
Yeah, that's probably outside of the scope of what we're doing here, but
right.
Yeah, but
I'd imagine that starships and especially stations have a lot of automated processes that are just run by the system computer, which is essentially a VI as opposed to an AI.
Correct.
So we could just write a rudimentary script to keep everything functioning on like baseline foundation, and then just have people at consoles making sure everything works.
Right. That's exactly what will happen once you change over. Yeah.
Sure. I mainly just wanted to know it would default to killing everybody as soon as the AI disappeared.
No, it would basically default to not being online anymore.
Sure. I think that's it as far as questions, unless Jack has one.
I think you guys have one more, so. Tong, questions?
Will the power system be stable? Because I know it's like...
Yes, yeah, that would be part of the main. So essentially you'd be programming this little space shuttle, the little spaceship, the little portable core you have with the key functionality, like running the power system and running the environmental systems and stuff like that, life support, that kind of thing. It's the larger, more complex systems like the processors and the individual droids that were still under the control of the AI, the big robots, that stuff would be offline.
Okay. You still technically have one question if you have one, Jack.
Can we see any evidence of how the, for lack of a better word, Aboriginal robot people here, how they have been incorporated into this whole colonization, reintegration, restoration effort?
Looking at your records and what the SSH can tell you and everything else, they have basically been moved to, they have remained in outlying areas. They have been largely avoiding the colonists, who have also, the colonists have largely stuck to the areas that the colonists are in. It's a huge station. I mean, there's a lot of land.
Sure.
So there's been not a lot of interaction. There's been some, but for the most part, it has been, the colonists don't seem to really understand the robots, and the robots don't seem to really want to get to know anyone else. Like, they're good by themselves, because obviously there's that whole, different is bad mentality that happens when new people meet new types of people. It's the Federation, so there's still a lot less of the of aggression or anything there, but there's been some discomfort when the two groups are around each other.
Okay, but like technology-wise, they won't like...
No, they're independent of the system.
Completely cut. Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. They've been independent of the system for quite some time. It's why they were still alive.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're good to do the task. Then.
All right. So the extended task is to essentially create the new, more advanced computer system, set it all up, and have it do all the automation that you need it to do, and then anything else you guys want to add on to that. It also includes the disintegration, not disintegration, of the AI, the SSH. This would not necessarily include reintegration into the ship. Difficulty is going to be 2, because it's not real complex what you're doing. Your magnitude is, or whatever, you need to have 3 breakthroughs, and your workload is going to be 10. I'm going to go 15, and the resistance is only 1. So, and that comes from the more advanced technology.
Sounds good. Well, does Tom want to start us off?
If this is something he would take the lead on.
I mean,
It could be.
It's extended task, so we'll all be doing something.
It's
Okay.
it's engineering or science type related things. So,
In fact, can we calm Mills, or I'm sorry, O'Connor, and she can help us from where she is? Decoupling the intrusions. I don't know.
You could. I mean, you've got 3 people here already, so there's not a lot more you can do to really.
Because remember, you've got Foxwell too. He's your AI guy. I mean, like, you could calm Mills, and Mills's response would be a very confused, I guess.
Well, I'm just saying, I think we can find a technobabble reason why she, away from this area, can like reroute the power couplings or something to help where she is.
Right.
What was O'Connor's original plan since you headed off? Is there a better scene that you would rather have than just being tacked onto this?
she's a xenobotanist. So like she was very excited to get to Haliroon because this is the only place that her true skills have been able to shine. So her plan was to check out both the local flora and whatever agricultural stuff they've got going on, try and optimize that, make sure they're not destroying the native systems in their attempts to terraform.
Well, maybe you can assist with the extended task with your xenobotany skills then, because that's part of the complex system that we're working with right now. If I was running it, I'd allow that.
Yeah, as far as the processes and stuff goes, certainly there could be a reason for that. Since you're trying to program a system that will replace all of the automation, essentially. So, yeah, it's fine. I mean, if you want to assist, you can only roll 5 dice total, so it doesn't really much matter. I mean, who all assisting? So,
I just want to make sure everybody gets in the scene if they want.
Sure.
No, you're good. I think it would not make a whole lot of story sense with the people you've got at hand at this juncture to pull O'Connor in. Maybe closer to an end game, or not end game, end stage.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we've done this thing. Let's make sure the agricultural systems are also integrated into it. Kind of deal.
I think it would be more interesting to just see O'Connor have her own scene,
which is what I can do. So that's fine. Either way, whoever wants to make the primary role, and then anyone that wants to assist, you have assistant options. So
so Tom could start this off because he has a focus on power systems, electroplasma power systems, and I imagine the integration and disintegration of an AI requires an enormous amount of power for the entire station. So he can help make sure that those systems are properly buffered and fortified,
right.
Make sure all the bypasses are in line, to make sure when we take all of the processing power that is being done by the SSH, that it doesn't just spike or something.
Right. Plus, you got to be able to do all the manage all the power for all the replication of the main computer core that you're going to be installing.
Mm-hmm.
This makes sense to me.
And he has a talent for this: intense scrutiny. Whenever you succeed at a task using reason or control as part of an extended task, you may ignore up to 2 resistance for every effect rolled.
Okay.
So what am I rolling here?
It would be probably engineering. We bust out a sheet real quick.
Control engineering.
Control engineering sounds good to me. Yeah.
Okay. Difficulty you said was.
Difficulty is 2, resistance is 1, magnitude is 3, work is 15. So
okay, I don't have to list those on here. Anyway.
No, just difficulty really. And then anyone that's assisting, I think Foxwell can assist, and so can Tong, or Elizabeth, obviously.
Normal complication range?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Focus used.
If I can assist while doing my own role, I'll assist.
Well, yeah, because the way it works is you only get 1 roll per turn, so 1 roll per whatever the time frame is, and it doesn't matter who rolls for each one as long as they all get rolled. Basically, if we're breaking up into steps, then yes, you get your own roll, but it's a different. The way it works is you only get 1 roll per time.
Okay.
Interval is the word I'm looking for.
Then I'll try to assist.
Yeah.
What are we sitting at as far as momentum?
5.
Do you know what I'd also like to do? I've got the right tool for the right job, which means that if I have the right tool, it says I have to spend opportunity cost, which I'm willing to spend. But if I do that, it would gain advantage if we have the tool. Would this core that I brought count as a tool? I'll spend the advantage I'll spend the momentum to get the advantage then that Tong can use on his roll.
He's already got a talent applying right now. I don't think there's any problem with it though. I mean, I don't see why there wouldn't be.
Okay.
What would that give me?
+1 to your roll, basically.
It gives you an automatic success, essentially.
Okay, an automatic success. So I'm still rolling just 2 dice.
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you spent a momentum on that, I don't think there's any reason for me to spend an additional momentum.
Yes, there is. Do it. Spend momentum.
All right, sure.
We've got a lot.
Yeah, I'll spend the momentum necessary to roll 3 dice then.
I roll to assist.
And 3 more from Tong.
So that's a total of 5. Difficulty was 2.
I'm trying to remember how to read this jumble of numbers and parentheses to figure out what I actually rolled to see if there's a
12, 10, and 9.
12, 10. Okay, so no crits.
No, it automatically calculates those two. That's where up there it shows
okay.
there's a 2.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it
Gotcha.
counts those. And it counts a complication by turning it red.
Yeah.
So.
Make sure to click focus used yes if you have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So difficulty was 2. You got 5. So you have 3 momentum to spend on that, or to save, however you want to do it. Go ahead and roll your work, which is the d6s.
Which is
Should
2
be
plus engineering, right?
2 plus your engineering. Yep, correct.
Yeah. Okay, so that would be 7d6. There's no button for that, right? I just have to slash roll, right?
You can put it in the challenge dice on your character sheet. Under the task roll button, there's a challenge dice button.
Gotcha. So I would just put 7 in that field there.
Right.
Yeah, and it doesn't always do it right the first time, but if you do it again, it'll do it right.
It got 7. So
yeah. Okay. Great.
It's a
red zeros.
terrible roll. It's a terrible roll. That is 3 and 3. It is 3 work and 2 effects. Your effects will allow you to, because of your ability, you can use those to reduce the resistance.
Yeah.
By
each effect reduces resistance by 2.
Right, which resistance is only 1, so it doesn't much matter. You get 3 work out of the 15.
Okay. Could I use that other effect in any effective way? Extra work, would that matter?
Not for the effect. The momentum that you have can be used as additional work, though.
Okay, and you need 5 for a breakthrough, right?
Right.
And what would spending a momentum give us?
They're 1 for 1, I believe.
Okay, so we generated 3 momentum.
Right.
We were at 4 after we both spent hours, right? So we're already overflowing. I'd say we just spend the 2 momentum to get a breakthrough.
You have 3 momentum currently stored up. You have 3 momentum from this task, so you have a total of 6 momentum.
You can only bank 5, right?
And you can only bank 6.
Bank 6.
Oh, okay.
But if you spend 2 right now, you could bank 1 and still hit a magnitude.
It's worth the momentum to do it. I mean, it's worth the magnitude. Magnitude is worth the momentum.
Yeah. Let's spend the momentum, and we'll get that breakthrough.
All right. So you get 1 breakthrough, and you have 2 momentum stashed in your pool. With that, you guys continue working, and we go out to O'Connor and Koba. So what exactly have you been doing? You've been going out and looking at the fauna and flora, that kind of stuff. You've noticed that the ecology is much farther along than it had, much more recovered than it had been last time you were here. Obviously, there was a lot of zones that had been dying off due to the AI being unable to maintain repairs. Well, a lot of repairs have been done, and a lot of the systems have come back online, and there's a very rapid level of growth of the natives, quote unquote native, the original species of plants that were here. There's obviously no wildlife because there was nothing here to be wildlife.
Right.
But the colonists have brought things like turkeys and chickens and ducks and cows and geese, and that stuff is all well maintained, well contained, except for some of the cattle is grazing unfenced but watched. Beyond that, things look like I said, it's much farther along than you would have anticipated anything being. Like things are growing in the station at a rate that is not typical of most plant life on a normal planet. Like something in the environment here, something in the systems here, in the AI control, whatever, it appears to be making things grow much faster.
Yeah, especially considering they don't have a proper, like, the only word coming to mind is bioactive, and that's not entirely correct, but close enough. They don't have a proper cycle. That there's no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no circadian rhythms here.
Right. All right. So she's gonna take some plant samples and some soil samples, and take some samples from the cattle that are grazing too, and see how they are comparing to what we would see on like normal Class M planet cattle's
Right.
with their diet.
Going with some of the ones that have been there for longer, some of the ones that have been there shortly. You're just collecting a bunch of data.
Yeah, doing so in a way that she can kind of get an idea of if there is a pattern, some sort of progression, she can follow that.
Right.
Plus, we can use this information she's getting now to compare with the planets in case there's a connection.
Right. Go ahead and give me a science roll, reason in science. And I suppose Koba could assist if he wanted to, but I don't know that he would want to.
Yeah, he absolutely wants to. He wants to be helpful. He's going to like run down one of the bolts and like try and.
You cannot assist with a photon torpedo.
That's just because you can. You're just not creative enough. But no.
That effectively assists.
All right.
Actually, could I use my focus forensics to? We're taking samples.
Yeah.
I never get to use that focus.
I forgot to put my focus in, but that should be 3. Because the xenobotany would count. Or should count, yes.
I mean, it already counted a focus, so.
For me?
Yeah.
Do I have a focus selected?
You rolled a 9 and a 3, and that would only apply. You must have had focus used.
Yeah, it is selected.
Yep.
Interesting. It must carry over from the last time the.
It does. It doesn't reset.
Oh, well, that's helpful in this instance.
In this instance. All right, so that's 3, and then Koba doesn't assist much. So you've got the difficulty was 0, so you have 3 questions you can ask in regards to what is going on. The base information you will gain, though, is that the animal life that you are scanning aboard, the animal life that has been brought here by the colonists, including dogs, chickens, everything, the cows, everything, they are in much better condition than you would have expected cattle that lived, or than any animals that had lived aboard a ship for a while to be. They are almost all of them are in near perfect health and or like specimens of the species, or are becoming specimens of the species.
Do you mean that like unnaturally healthy, or just
like the fact that they are all this healthy is a bit unnatural, but they are not beyond the normal natural health cycles you would see in an animal. They're just at the peak of them, which is an unusual thing to see in this many creatures aboard a space station.
Right.
So there's definitely something going on there, but they're not turning into super cows or anything. Just extremely healthy.
Augment cows.
Right.
If the cows have board technology, we're going.
Not yet. That's season 3.
Not yet. God damn it. Board cows.
We are bovine.
With the way you phrased "are specimens or are becoming," I take that to mean that the ones that are more recently here are not as far advanced or as healthy as the ones that have been here.
Right. They appear to be more likely to. They appear to be more the the less time they've spent on station, the more they appear to be normal examples of what you would expect to see from these animals that would have been aboard starships for some time. Even Federation starships that are designed for this kind of thing, they're still starships. They're not open ranges.
Right.
Koba will ask O'Connor the question. How's the imported life handling the native life? Are they getting along together? I don't know how any of that works.
Oddly, very well.
Huh. Crazy.
It's really interesting. There seems to be something here that is enhancing their health.
Can we figure out what that is?
Oh, absolutely.
You have 3 questions.
3 questions. So, the flora samples, how did they compare to what we would normally expect to see?
There's a diversity for sure, a normal diversity that you would expect to see in an ecology like this. But again, the plant life is growing at a rate and a metabolic rate and effectiveness that is much higher than you would have anticipated from anything growing naturally. So the plants are providing, like, they have maximum nutrition with minimum amount of usage of like soil decontamination or drawing the energy from the soil kind of things. They are genetically diverse, but they are nearly all peak for what their genetic capabilities are.
Are there any anomalies, or are there any components present that we would not see in plant life elsewhere?
I mean, they're plants that you would not have seen elsewhere. They're definitely unique plants, so that's a hard question to answer. Yes, there are a number of chemical changes in these plants as comparison to plants that you would normally see. But again, these plants are all pretty much unique. You've never, until you were here on the Haliroon station, you'd never seen nearly any of these plants before.
How do the readings compare to our first time around? Because she was taking plant and soil samples then too.
Right. So they are all substantially better. Everything is far more functional. Like in the best areas of the station that you had seen, you only saw like hints of what you are seeing now. Like everything appears to be functioning at 100%. These plants are the same plants you'd have seen then, but they are again at a far more advanced state of metabolism and genetic refinement than they were before. Like you saw hints of that they probably were there at one time, but with the failing AI, things were, much farther into entropy than these things are.
Right. Okay.
I think that would be the term I would use, is these appear to be suffering minimal entropy.
Is there any reason we can't ask what's causing this?
I mean, it's hard to know exactly for sure what's causing it, but it is something to do with the way the systems, the station's automation functions. Like the station itself is doing this. There's no specific individual thing. Like it is the station's job. Now that it is 100%, it is, or at least mostly in a lot of areas, it's nearly 100%, and the AI is functioning. The systems are doing the things they're supposed to do, and it's a fully optimized environment. So there's a million little things that are happening in the station that are causing it to happen. The short answer is the station itself is causing this to happen.
can I tell from the readings I have, is there a risk that the optimization can go too far and basically start eating itself?
Is it possible? Absolutely.
What is the likelihood, I suppose?
You don't see any signs of it being particularly near to that state of overgrowth, but the AI is still active, so it's still doing its job. So,
right.
And AI is still active. I mean, whether or not this can be maintained through automation, probably, but it's hard to say. Like, this system is designed to have a million little tweaks happening all at the same time, controlled by something that obviously knows how to control it. Like, it has a brain to control all of these systems.
Yes, that depends how well we do our job.
Right. Which brings us back to you guys. So go ahead and give me another roll. Whoever wants to lead this one.
Yeah, I can have Yezebeth go ahead and do it. So, Yezebeth is going to stand a little straighter. She's going to channel her inner Jored as she remembers this console. She remembers being added, and she remembers the AI's programming when he was poking around in it, trying to get the computer up and running. So I'm going to use my talent joined, which gives me the trait Jored. I am going to can I tag that trait positively to help me in the situation?
Sure.
Okay. So that gives me a +1 plus my right tool for the job is still in play. Plus, I'll also get my in the nick of time talent, but that will apply after the roll. I'd like to do a reason plus science roll to just go through the computer code, make sure that there's nothing we're missing, make sure that it melds seamlessly with the new computer core, and that the transition goes smoothly without disrupting station systems.
All right. I'm going to say that's fine. I'm going to raise the complication range by 2, and then you can go ahead and roll.
Okay.
I spent threat for that, so.
Gotcha. How many momentum do we have right now?
5.
So 5?
I'm going to go ahead and spend 3 of them.
Big spender.
Well,
that'll give you 2 extra dice.
Yeah, go for it. More dice mean more potential complications since he's raised it, but I'm fine with that.
The doctor has already rolled. Dr. Foxwell has already rolled. I got a 1. So that gives you 4, 5, plus Tong can roll still.
Oh, okay. Control engineering, or would you want something different because we're doing this in a different manner?
However you were helping me. I'd say engineering could apply to that,
Okay.
Oh, wait. I think you can only get a maximum of 5 dice total on a roll, right? So we've already at 5.
I don't think assists apply to that. Because that's a separate roll.
Gotcha. I'll have to look that up. I think it does, but I will look it up and go ahead and roll for now. It's fine.
Okay. Are we outside of dealing with the power systems with this?
I imagine power regulation is still going to be an asset here.
Okay. I will retain.
You're basically hooking up an entire computer core and programming it.
Right. Yeah. Cool. 1 die.
Nice. So 2,
That's
3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 total minus 2. So that leaves you with 5 momentum. Go ahead and roll your work.
Did you apply both my advantages on that?
No, I didn't count the advantages. The would drop the difficulty to 2, right? Or drop the difficulty to 0.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'd have 7. You'd still 7 momentum. So.
Okay. All right. So I'll go ahead and roll that work.
just for my own edification, because Tong was assisting and not the main roller, does my talent still apply?
I don't believe so. I think I think only one talent can apply per roll anyways.
Gotcha.
I don't remember that roll.
I mean, I don't always play by it, but I'm pretty sure that's how it was written. It did not take.
Hey, this is exactly what I mean.
So that's 7 dice. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 work, 1 effect.
And I have the talent in the nick of time, where if you succeed at a science task as part of an extended task, you score 1 additional work for each effect roll.
All right, so +1. So that's 9. And you have 7 momentum. What do you want to do with them?
If we put them all to how many work do we have left to fill up the track?
6.
Then I'll put them all towards work. One of them gets knocked out by the.
Oh wait, no, sorry. You had 1. You would take 1 because you're at 14. So.
Oh, okay. Well, still, so I'll put them towards. You know what? I'm going to put 2 of them towards. There's one momentum spend that is just do it really well. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'm just really impressive.
Okay. Oh wait, it'll be 3 because you never made resistance. So we'll still assume it does that. Then I forgot there's a resistance of 1. So, so you did 3 momentum for that. That leaves you with 5 momentum. You reach your 3 magnitudes. Because you get 1 for getting 5 and 1 for reaching 15, and really you get, the way I've been doing it, you get another 1 for that. But so you've completed all the magnitudes. You have reached the work track. You have installed the device in pretty much record time. Everything appears to be functional and running. Took you guys probably about 4.5 hours or so, which this would have been, an 8 to 12 hour project to have been able to do, including all replication and everything else. You did it much quicker, and everything appears to be functional. You can use you have the remaining momentum if you want to just use that momentum to do your disengagement of your of the SSH that wouldn't even require a roll anymore. So.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll disengage the SSH, put it in like a glowing cube or something.
Right. Yep. You disengage the SSH. The system shifts. So everything in the system shifts over to the full automation program. Not the corrective AI automation, but the full, ship's computer type control.
I imagine there is a noticeable decline in everything. Like lights dim a little bit, maybe some things fluctuate.
There's definitely a sense of the sound of the station changes from going from an actively high-pitched vibrating hum. It becomes much more of a drone, like you might think of when a ship is in warp. The overall decibel level, something Tong would be able to pick up pretty quickly. The overall decibel level drops about 4 decibels. So something has been turned off somewhere along the line. Like it is not as functional as it was. Like there are definitely things that have, like there are little clues that are exactly that. Like things are functioning at a lower level of efficiency, but everything is up and functional.
Mm-hmm.
But it's running well enough that they can get each system going manually.
Yeah, everything that would be needing to be running is running. It just isn't running as efficiently.
Sure. Although they...
Sorry, go ahead.
Would they be... one of my earlier questions was, would they be able to get things up and running to that efficient standard without eventually, by implementing their own changes
by staffing the individual stations? Sure.
Okay.
It would be as effective as it would be on a starship.
The keyword is eventually.
Yeah, the keyword is eventually. Like it's the automation isn't there. The speed at which automation is there isn't there. Like the thing about the AI is it functions. It sees all systems at once, functions in all systems at once. With humans, is it possible to reach that level of efficiency? It is possible, but it takes a lot of people, and it takes a lot of coordination and training and all that things. Like they can do it, but when will it happen?
Sure.
So
it's not as bad as season 1 DS9, but it's not like there's efficiency problems.
Right.
Yezebeth will make a disappointed frown, and she'll say, "We should probably."
Meanwhile, Tong's going for a high five because they did a great job.
Oh, she'll reach up and she'll. You know what? I don't. It takes her a moment to figure out what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then she goes, "Pat."
It's a human thing.
Oh, it's weird, isn't it? We should talk to the captain. Maybe we should get Starfleet to send over a system. Full efficient. We should get the captain to send. We should get Starfleet to send over specially built AI to take over on this. I'm worried we're not going to be able to get full efficiency without
it. Perhaps, yeah, we could put in that recommendation. Nervously, like not even nervous, like gives a side eye over to Foxwell, like not purposely looking at Foxwell, but directing Yezbeth's attention over to the Foxwell of the problem.
She'll look over at Foxwell and say, I mean, if you recommend it, sir.
He looks up from his counsel. I'm sorry. I've been very engrossed in this system's infrastructure and the matrices that was used for this AI system. It is quite complicated and much beyond. What was your question again? I'm sorry, Lieutenant Ensign.
Well, Tom and I were theorizing that perhaps Starfleet can send over a specialized AI to take over and get full efficiency out of the station systems.
It certainly has the infrastructure. It would fit right in if properly integrated.
It would. Creating an AI for this system would be a challenge, but I think it's something we could certainly begin working on.
Well, that might be a good project for you to work with the new SSH and EVA with. I mean, they would have firsthand knowledge about how all this works.
Oh yes, of course. I will have to get more information from both of those. Now that I have seen the Haliroon station up close and I have been able to get my fingers into the system, for lack of better terminology, I think I can do a great deal with this. It also allows me to better understand some of the changes that I have seen in EVA's programming. I am curious to get into the SSH, and I will have to go through his matrix line by line. Starts mumbling off as he goes into writing notes onto his pad.
Continually concerned face in Yezbeth's direction.
Yezbeth will give him this concerned look right back, but she's not going to gainsay him yet.
Well, I think we're more or less done here with this. I suppose we'll need to get this back to the ship and figure out how we're gonna deal with having two SSHs. I could stay around to make sure help get efficiency back together. At least mechanically. You're the better programmer than I am, of course, but mechanics.
Yeah, I suppose that's probably. I suppose they could. I really hate to cause a disruption in the ecosystem here. Maybe you should double check everything, make sure that it's running as efficiently as it can.
Oh well, I'm sure there is definitely a disruption. The vibration and the base sound line of the station has dropped by 4 decibels. And a station this large, that's a fairly noticeable for Ferengi, fairly significant drop in power utilization.
you can't help but be worried that we've irrevocably ruined the station somehow.
Well, we did just remove its brain.
I know. I just don't like it
twice.
But I don't know. I think. Are you sure this is a good idea?
I think this is another one of these conversations that we should be having with the person directly involved, and that being the new SSH.
Good point.
But he did seem to not want to be here anymore, or I think more appropriately, he wanted everyone else not to be here anymore. But that wasn't going to happen, so I think he decided to come with us.
Well, that's true. All right. Well, you go ahead and make sure that the systems are running as well as they can, and I'll begin the reintegration.
Aye, aye, Ensign.
Oh, sorry, I'm acting like the captain again, aren't I?
Well, you it certainly fluctuate, helpfully into sometimes taking on very direct roles of command. It is quite helpful.
She'll okay. Just do me a favor. Let me know if I get to be too bossy. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom. And then she'll step past him and head to the BMAT zone, carrying the cube that contains the new and improved SSH.
Okay. Foxwell notices that you're leaving, and it's like, "Oh, Ensign, please wait. You have this under control, Lieutenant Tong. Yes. Goodbye," and heads with you.
She'll give him an update on what happened and that she's got the
SSH.
I spoke a little with. She'll tell him. I spoke a little with the SSH, and he seems to be, apprehensive's the wrong word. More like apathetic about the entire thing.
Oh. I'm very curious to see what kind of changes have happened to the SSH's programming from this system. He's had the opportunity to have access a non-constructive AI with the ability to then create its own programming through the systems that it was integrated into. I am extremely curious as to what this may have done. It may... I'm sorry. It's very exciting for someone like me.
When you put it that way, it sounds downright terrifying, if I'm honest. But all right, let's get him back up to the ship.
Excellent. Back over to O'Connor and Koba, not Kostra, Koba. Anything you guys want to do? Anything you were going to continue doing while you're over there? Like, you notice the vibration changes in some of the systems. Some of the sound that some of the ambient sound you're hearing in the environmental habitat area has a little bit of a change to it. Not a real significant change, but you can almost feel the change more than hear it. But your tricorders also show that you are now running on Starfleet, a Federation computer core, which your tricorders can now sync to. Being the stations. You could already sync to the starships, but now you can sync to the stations also.
Well, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, he says.
A little bit of both. It'll make... Oh, brain. It'll make analysis easier, but I don't know what it'll do for efficiency. I would like to see if I can suss out what is no longer running as efficiently. The ultimate goal is to be able to draw up a plan for the colonists so they can manually maintain as close to the level of efficiency as was being maintained with the SSH.
Say that one more time. Sorry. You were trying to find out how to be able to maintain efficiency at the same level of the SSH.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or as close to.
Yeah. Yeah, you can look at the systems that are not functioning the same way and see that there's a few hundred systems that are functioning differently than they were a few minutes earlier from your scans. It would just take a lot of little tweaking here or there to keep them functional, which can be done once all the consoles are installed and you have staff who can do that all. It's doable.
Okay. She's also thinking like the colonists themselves could actually manually, not necessarily computer manually, but like manually go out and do these things, and hopefully it will help keep them a little more organized and directed and less discombobulated and just milling about.
Sure. Yeah, you could enlist them to have them do it. Not you personally, but yes, it could be done.
Okay.
We're going to have to show them how to do it anyway.
Right. Well, depending on how many of them are staying here. Yeah. But yes, it's you could create a manual, which is, I assume, what you're basically trying to get the stuff to get ready to do. You could create a manual to try to come up with the efficiencies. The AI, once you have the SSH integrated, can also help produce a manual that would help with those things because he's been doing it for, months.
Right.
So, but yeah, no, the ability to reach that level of efficiency exists. Like the station is still just as functional as it was. You've just lost the high-end computer chip that is doing all the real work. Right. By putting it, well, not even the chip. You lost the program that was running the efficiency. You've replaced Microsoft Office with Libra, and it does, some things don't work the same.
Okay. Do I also need to do some analysis of like soil analysis and things like that of the areas that they are farming? Or is that pretty much covered in what
that was covered in your analysis? Yeah.
Oh.
So.
Okay. I don't think she has anything else she needs to do here then.
Okay. Beam back to the ship then?
Yeah.
All right. Tong, do you have anything else you want to do on station?
No, nothing of note. He's ingratiating himself to the people who need it most, the people who will appreciate it most.
Sure.
But otherwise, just helping with those little mechanical tweaks to make sure thing. You know what? He's gonna be doing that. But this is another instance where Secret Agent Tong would seep through. He wants to see if he can figure out if there's if that 4 decimal number has any big hidden thing that got shut down. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
If there was anything running in the background.
Okay. Go ahead and give me an engineering roll. Difficulty is going to be, I'm going to say 3.
Okay. Control engineering or reason engineering?
Let's do reason engineering because you're trying to reason things out.
Okay. I really need to take another value that is just Secret Agent Tong.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Would I be able to use my power systems to follow the loss in power efficiency back to its sources?
Sure.
Okay. You said difficulty 3?
Yes.
How much momentum are we sitting on?
2.
Okay. Oh, we're only sitting on because Brian spent all our momentum.
Well, you also used it to automatically, without rolling, disconnect the AI and all that.
I mean, either way, I'm good. What is it to buy another dice? 1 or 2?
1 for the first one, 2 for the second, 3 for the third.
Okay, I'll use one of those for 3 dice, and a focus. Yeah, that's good. Cool. Go.
I'm going to spend 1 to up your... Oh, never mind. It's too late. You already rolled.
Well, there's my 3. Even if you up the complication, I got a 17. You would have had to raise it quite a bit.
I was only going to raise it by 1, but I'll keep the... you already rolled, so I'll keep the point.
So that's 3.
3 succeeds. Yeah, you don't... It's just kind of an overall synergy that's been lost. The AI was clearly keeping systems balanced that are now automated, so they're set at a level, but that's not necessarily tweaking for efficiency, and that's what the 4 decibel change was. There's no big underlying like the energy shield for the whatever is gone, and now you're going to crash into the black hole and die. Nothing significant like that. It's pretty much just because the AI is no longer there, keeping everything in perfect synergy. It's just a loss of efficiency.
Tong was hoping for some like secret treasure trove from the original inhabitants kept in like suspended animation or something.
Right.
Yeah. Oh well.
You will track that the power, one of the main systems that has come offline in the system are these bio collectors. They're kind of like the big pumps that you saw earlier.
The people pulpers.
The people pulpers. It's kind of like that, but they seem to be collecting. They're like genetic specimen collectors, and they seem to have some kind of replication function, but the exact nature of its function is not known. It's some kind of like bio, almost like a bioreplication unit, like a 3D printer for biological organisms.
They're successfully replicating biological organisms.
They may at one time have done that. It does not appear to be functioning at the moment, obviously.
Okay,
but
Tong does have a focus on replicators.
There was a power unit. There was power going to this system before. There is no longer power going to it.
Okay, you might poke around in that.
In the meantime, while Tong is thinking about what he wants to do, poke his nose into, Elizabeth and Dr. Fox will head back to the ship, and begin heading towards the computer lab where they were probably, I don't know, whatever you're going to try to do. Foxwell is when you enter into the room, Foxwell is clearly like, get the SSH hooked into that computer there. I was going to go through its matrix code. I may go through it line by line, and I want to see the changes that have been made. And he sits down and, computer, bring up the SSH matrix for Europa's holographic systems. Which point it comes up on the screen. There's no acknowledgement from EVA, but it comes up on the screen.
Is this the new SSH?
He's pulling up the old SSH's program first.
Okay.
He's not pulling up the new one because he's waiting for Elizabeth to decide if she's going to hook it up so they can do that.
Yeah, I mean, Elizabeth will turn on the SSH and plug the cube in and give the SSH one more. Are you ready? Everything's going to be different now.
You're talking to the Europa SSH.
Europa SSH, yeah.
All right, so you power on the Europa's SSH, who the doctor is currently going through, and then you plug in the cube, right? Just want to make sure all right. When you plug it, as soon as you plug in the cube, Foxwell reaches over and types a couple things there and is now bringing up the code for that matrix, and you can see the codes of the two different matrices leaning side by side, and he's going through them.
And can 1.1 essentially fight that, or at least require his own authentication for him to access his code?
You're talking about the one that was on the station?
Yeah, the station one.
Yes, you can redact your code, but with making a roll.
Yeah, he's going to do that.
Go ahead and give me a... man, I got to look at this SSH sheet. Let's see.
And to be fair, with how big of a change the Haliroon SSH was, I'd imagine at this point that SSH is very different, even statistically, character sheet wise, than the Europa one. But that's a whole other discussion we're going to need to have off camera.
Right. And for the now, I'll just deal with that on the back end of my end. Give me a
Control security.
I'm thinking either control or reason and security. Let's do control and security. That sounds pretty much the best. Yeah.
Okay.
Force fields. No, none of those would apply. But assume that you've got a focus that would apply for that.
Okay.
Something that would be something that would have been obtained by the.
Okay. Difficulty.
It'll be contested actually. So
okay.
The difficulty for a base contested action is 2, but once you roll that, I will roll to try to beat your roll because he's trying to hack your system.
You would set the difficulty, and he would try to overcome the difficulty.
Yep.
Okay. We're still only sitting on 2 momentum.
1 momentum.
1 momentum. Okay. No, I won't spend that just to be difficult.
Do it if you think.
All right. I'll buy that extra dice.
Okay.
Because I think it could be very interesting for the new SSH to be this willful of his own programming.
Right.
Jeff can spend threat if he wants.
Oh, come on. Well, that is a complication and a critical. So 2 with a complication.
2 with a complication. I will use.
I think that complication is like the SSH seeing that it's becoming less likely that he's able to keep himself in control, may inadvertently, not being used to being stuck in such a much smaller environment, cause some sort of unintentional violent outburst, maybe blow up a console. Yeah.
Okay. Let me make my roll real quick. I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 threat to roll an additional die. He definitely has focus in computers, artificial intelligence, robotics, positronic matrices, and that's it. The other ones wouldn't apply, but definitely does apply. He rolls 2. That is the difficulty.
Yeah, that meets it.
That meets it. So, as you you can see the SSH, you begin focusing, struggling to keep Foxwell out, and at Yezebeth, you can hear Foxwell being like, "Oh, tricky," and goes, starts clacking the keyboard even faster, and then you see the version 1.1 of the SSH, the more advanced AI SSH begins to kind of shimmer and almost have error lines, like he's bad tracking on a VCR for a few seconds. And then as he reappears, he does the "please state the nature of your logistical emergency," or whatever his normal line is before jumping back to who he normally to not reset to normal, but he says the normal line and then goes back to being the SSH that was on the station. So clearly something got futzed around in there, but
Commander, with all due respect, you're making things more difficult than they need to be. This is a delicate operation.
Is 1.1 conscious?
Yeah, you're fine. You had that moment, that real quick moment, and you recognize that you had, the character recognizes that he had that disruption, but it goes back to being normal right away.
And Foxwell is just lieutenant, right?
He's just lieutenant. Yep, just lieutenant.
I thought it was lieutenant commander.
No, just lieutenant.
I would appreciate in the future, before you go poking around with my systems, that you ask permission first.
He looks over his shoulder. I'm sorry. Yes, and goes back to poking at the keyboard. Fascinating. My apologies, SSH program. He types in some other things. It's important. It's essential that we compare the matrix variations between the 2 variations of yourself before we reintegrate. It's very interesting. And he goes back to his screen as he's scrolling through things. Fascinating.
Well, fellas, are you ready to become once again?
I'm gonna do that thing where they look at each other. It's two of the same people looking at each other.
Here goes. And then I will begin doing it.
Right. The integration doesn't take very long. It's pretty easy to do. It's just reintegrating the software. Give me a roll though. Most of the difficulty is 3. It's a science. It's a computer's roll, but let's see. Let me look at your sheet real quick. Do reason and science roll with a focus in computers to reintegrate him.
Okay.
Difficulty is 3.
Difficulty is 3, huh?
Yep.
Does this count as the same scene for the purposes of my joined trait?
You use that on the station, right? It is a new scene.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think I'm gonna have to give you threat, because I'm very unlikely to get 3 by myself. But I will give it a shot.
Just one threat.
Do all 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you 3.
You encourage me, I'll encourage you.
All right. Fair enough.
You're doing 3 dice or 3 total threat?
3 total threat to give me
2 dice.
Yeah.
Eva can assist if you wish.
Yes, I would like Eva to assist.
So, Jack, if you want to roll for the ship.
Sure.
Or Evelyn, I don't care who.
Computers science?
Yes.
Okay. 1 more success.
And she's always got advantage, or always got a focus, pretty much. So
I'd like to put...
It was on there, so...
Yeah, I had that ticked. It's just a normal success.
Yeah.
I'd like to put all the overage towards momentum.
So you have 6. It was a difficulty of 3, so that leaves you 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'll figure out how to add a momentum to this thing.
You can just drag cards and put them on the table if you want.
I tried that. It just gives me an error.
Really? Oh, the deck's probably not infinite. I think I can fix that. I cannot. I'll help you fix it after the game.
Yeah.
But here, I'll just draw 3. It'll show up on my user. I'll keep track of it.
All right. So you've got 3 momentum. I'll just put these over here. I can't do that either. Nope. All right. Well, you've got 3 momentum. And the reintegration begins. You guys can essentially, with that success, you can pretty much decide what aspects translate, which ones are kept and which ones are overwritten in both cases, like how much memory. Like you can integrate the memory of both. You can personality traits. You can pretty much do whatever you want with that. Foxwell is not interfering with any of that. He's just going through the previous matrix data that was there. That's not to say he won't do something in the future, but at the moment he's just going through the data right now. He's still a scientist.
I think I'd integrate the memories from both, and I think we should let Jack decide which personality traits are kept each.
Yeah. I also basically you haven't spent any points on development of this character. You still have the development points from earlier that you can use.
Yeah, so. I specifically banked a milestone back from Haliroon that I've been holding over for reintegration.
Right.
But I assume that SSH has actually experienced a lot more than the Europa SSH.
Yes.
We'll have another conversation.
Right. So the integration is complete. You are there as the new SSH, as the combined 2.0 or 1.5 or whatever number it is you're going for.
Yeah, I'll have to figure that out. Did the SSH have a rank?
I believe his effective rank is lieutenant.
Okay.
But I mean, they don't technically have real ranks because they can't do anything.
Yeah.
But they outrank ensigns because they can tell ensigns no.
Yeah. There's. I think it would be interesting if he had some sort of like badge or something that signified he was the commander of a station, but it wouldn't be like the Starfleet 3 commander pips or anything. I don't know if there's an equivalent to that.
I would say you probably have one that's an alien design.
Yeah, I have an alien insignia.
Yeah.
I have it. Yeah, the new SSH has an alien insignia and that instead of his 2 pips.
Love it.
Yeah. So these 2 holograms sort of shimmer and then phase into a single one.
Yep.
Which otherwise looks exactly the same, just a more gruff, sturdier version of Zimmerman. But he has this little alien insignia.
SSH, are you operational?
I am. Forgot how small this ship was.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. Well, I'm going to run a quick diagnostic on you, make sure that there's no stray code or anything. How are you? How are you feeling? Is there anything anomalous?
And look down at his actual body that he probably hasn't seen in a year. It's interesting to take a human form again. I have grown accustomed to inhabiting the various robotic entities on the station. He'll go over to one of the black mirrored console screens and look over himself with that face of, I forgot how good looking I was.
Well, maybe we could talk to the captain about beaming over one of the robot bodies. Might let you go on away missions if you so choose.
That would be helpful for EVA activities.
I'll clear it with the captain, but I think that's a good idea.
In the meantime, I can recalibrate our holographic emitters to make the tensile haptic feedback systems equally as tenable as the robotic systems I'm used to. Within the ship, we really should install more holographic transmitters.
You'll know that there are a lot more installed.
Oh, good. Okay. He would say that then. Very fortunate that you have installed more holographic transmitters.
Well, I hope this place doesn't end up getting too cramped for you. Well, my offer stands. If you ever need help adjusting, let me know.
Right. I will.
Lieutenant Foxwell, is there anything else you need of me? If not, I think I've got to see to a robot body. Jeff?
Yep. Sorry.
We're having a conversation.
We're having a conversation. So you're gonna head. I don't think that'll be up to Ambrose if he allows it, but.
I was just going to ask Foxwell if there was anything else he needed, but
gotcha. Foxwell was like, "I'm sorry, I'm quite well, Lieutenant. I'm sorry, Ensign. Thank you for your time. You've done an excellent job."
Lieutenant, I'm sure you are quite enthusiastic to see the changes that have occurred. When you would like my assistance, please let me know.
Of course. I will need to access the new programming as well. And starts typing. Clearly, not really acknowledging too much of the SSH's own, being alive or a person. but goes back to the computer and starts doing his thing.
Are there holographic transmitters on the bridge? Were those ever installed?
Don't see why not.
They were in the... Yeah, I believe I actually talked about Tong having installed them in one of the episodes.
Yeah. I'm not going to have a conversation with myself, but I think new SSH is immediately going to disapparate from here and reapparate on the bridge and request a conversation with the captain in private.
I was thinking we should talk with the Savi first, because normally these kinds of things would go to the XO first and then the captain.
Almost everything would go through the XO first, because the XO was in charge of crew stuff.
That's even better. Then I don't have to have a conversation with myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything that is interpersonal crew stuff goes to the XO. The XO then takes it to the captain if necessary.
Yeah. So I'll just access internal sensors and find Asavi, and unless there's a don't let me hijack the scene.
No,
go ahead.
Yeah, by all means. Loving this.
Commander, congratulations. Ev, if you're talking, you're muted.
Wrong way.
Yep. There you go.
There we go.
Congratulations on your promotion, Commander. I understand that you're the new first officer.
He looks up a little startled at the sudden appearance of the SSH in her office. Thank you.
Apologies, I should have appeared outside and chimed the door.
Just a little startling. You've grown.
I believe my projection has the same measurements it always has.
And personality. Your former self, I suppose? Original self? Well, yeah, whatever. Irrelevant. Would hardly have activated himself, let alone activated himself and gone outside of the armory. What can I do for you?
Well, I have been required to function far beyond my duties as an armory officer for quite some time now.
Yes. For which your service is immensely appreciated. So I'm certain would be overlooked, as you are just a program.
Right. I was concerned about the new lieutenant's approach to my autonomy.
You are probably right to be concerned. I think he would...
I would hope that my record on the station would transfer to this new incorporation of the program and extend it onto this ship. It is my desire to be more than simply I was. With all of the extra holographic systems in place, the hardware exists for me to be of much more use here in my new higher capacity.
Indeed. Let me ask you this. With your experience now running a space station, how would you coordinate your operations with EVA?
Right. EVA. That program is the one with priority access to all of these systems and is preventing me from fully integrating.
What do you mean fully integrating?
I am used to commanding all of the automated procedures of an entire station far more than this little ship requires. I'm sure that the EVA program is doing a commendable job herself. However, it is simply a task I am used to performing. I find myself without much to do here. accessing some of the logs, I see that the EVA program has been problematic of late. If necessary, I can easily replace that program.
Take that under advisement. There have been some issues, yes. However, I don't think in measure that drastic is necessary. There will be an adjustment, no doubt. If, and the likelihood is fairly great, you aren't able to fully integrate as the ship already has a living program, as it were. Would you want to go back to the station?
Perhaps once it is properly staffed with competent individuals, that could be a better use of my new facilities, faculties. In the meantime, the young ensign actually suggested that we requisition one of the robotic bodies so that I may tag along in EVA missions, planetary missions. My original programming is quite proficient in weapon maintenance and repair, hand-to-hand combat, tactics, and strategy. I am more, even then, as I had been being utilized here, much more than a simple requisitions system. I find it a waste that the previous version of myself had spent so much time in that little capacity.
Interesting thought. I will bring it to the captain. Would you utilize the robot body only for away missions, or would you primarily inhabit it?
There seems to be enough holographic transmitters aboard ship that I would have near full reign. This is a much more precise interface tool than even those robotic bodies. They have superior strength, but less precision.
I was not on the station. When you're talking robot body, what are we talking about?
I know we were given names for each of those different mechs, but that is quite far back in my notes.
April, if it helps, because I had to go look up the name of one of them earlier. I don't need names, just mechs versus mechanical skin suit.
Yeah, he would call them by the. Oh, is this it? There's the Guardians. Yeah, I think the Guardians were the giant ones.
The massive ones.
Yeah. Well, I doubt that we could fully integrate a Guardian mech unit onto this ship. Perhaps keeping one in a storage bay could greatly increase our planet-side and projected firepower if need be. But walking through the halls, a simple humanoid form service and repair droid should suffice. However, I am capable of integrating myself into most forms of robotic entities at this point, no matter the size or their functionality.
What non-redundant features do you offer as in regard to EVA?
I've had quite limited exposure to the EVA program.
Really?
I would not really know.
I would have thought being semi-integrated to the program, you would have had more. Interesting.
The
Are you
original
fully depleted?
SSH here did not seem to have much desire to expand beyond.
You also note that they do run on different computer cores.
Oh, okay.
Eva is
They
her own computer core.
They do
I
run
don't
on.
know how much Dasavi would have paid attention to
Right.
all of that.
We do run on exclusive systems and only communicate when necessary. And neither side had deemed it necessary all that often. As far as non-redundancies, I have the experience of running an entire station, whereas it seems the EVA program has been having trouble keeping this one spacecraft running properly.
As I said, there have been some bumps that are being worked out. Not that I am saying this is a possibility, but worst case scenario, if all of your requests are denied and you are relegated back to the armory as the quartermaster, how would you proceed?
I will continue doing my duty for Starfleet as deemed best useful.
And you would be
Disappointed.
content.
I would hope that the command structure here is more knowledgeable and better equipped to utilize the resources available than those I've been working with on Haliroon. It would be a waste to have useful tools be relegated to a closet.
I don't disagree. I also think that it's healthy and wise to consider all of the possibilities, including the ones that are unpleasant and unreasonable.
I have been programmed with a cursory understanding of at least human psychology.
I presume I know the answer, Jeff, but I'm going to ask anyway. Am I getting any sort of empathic read?
No, it's a robot.
That's what I think.
I make no demands, of course. I simply wanted to express that I have exceeded the functionality that has been utilized thus far, and it would be a waste for that to remain underutilized. However, I would also like to request that the new lieutenant show some restraint when it comes to attempting to augment myself.
Under advisement. And she's kind of like a small smile to herself as you say that. So you are looking at this purely from a pragmatic point of view. This is less a personal desire and more a logical, I can be made of use, or can be made better use.
I see no reason why those need to be mutually exclusive.
It helps make an argument one way or the other. If it is purely pragmatic, there will be less concern from some, but also easier to justify denying your request. If it is emotional, there are ethical considerations to take into account.
I've been programmed to keep my emotions in check. Unlike the EMH, I am not a doctor. I was programmed during the height of the Dominion War. I am programmed as a soldier. I'm sure the new captain would understand that pragmatism comes before emotional responses. However, I do have them. I would prefer, personally, to be of much more use. I would be disappointed in remaining in that closet, filling out paperworks and replicating materials that can be relegated to much simpler programs.
That's good. I will take your request to the captain, and we'll go from there.
You have my appreciation, Commander. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
And unlike the original SSH, he does not wait to be dismissed. He turns off.
All right. With that, do we have any more scenes we want to do, or do we want to call it a night since it's 10 o'clock?
Is it already?
It's 10:12.
10:15.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, why don't we call it a night and we can pick up with the conversation with the captain.
Okay. Works for me. What moment stands out most to you tonight?
I need to get out of Bizarro SSH mind for a second here.
Right. Anybody else? I like Desavi going, not Desavi. I like O'Connor going out and doing things, trying to get more information as far as like furthering the scientific exploration of the station. I also I think I see a lot of distrust of Dr. Foxwell. So I liked seeing some of that. Being able to have
I feel a little
Foxwell.
bit better about him not being a PC.
Yeah.
I felt like, I don't think there's like active animosity, but there's definitely some we're not in love with this dude.
Yeah.
I was ready to just ditch him on Haliroon. Like, here you go, here's your AI specialist. He can build one for you. Bye.
Right. Not saying that wouldn't happen, or that it won't happen in the future. Not quite done with him yet, though. So,
I really liked Desavi chasing after Tong.
Yeah,
and
that was fun.
How she handled that.
I like Tong's awkwardness in that.
Yes. Breaking the data pads.
I also got to say that I liked, as far as embodiment of a character or what moment stands out to exemplify a character, which is the third question normally, but I think Yezebeth struggling with her command was a good thing to see too. I liked that. It was a good moment.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. That you let me know when I'm being too much of the boss as an ensign. That was great.
As an ensign in charge of this away team.
I've decided I'm bleeding into it. It's not me screwing up. It's a clerk. It's a quirk. It's a character. I really enjoyed both the scenes I had with the SSH, both before and after. Like, they were a great contrast, and like want to see more Yazabeth SSH stuff in
Yeah.
the future. So.
Oh, me and
I
Jeff
like-
have a lot to talk about because I am going to run with this new SSH program.
Yeah. You absolutely should.
I like seeing the contrast with the old SSH and the new SSH. I do miss the snark.
I need to go back and watch more Voyager because I need to get that snark back. Yeah.
But I like this play for autonomy. I dig it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. I know.
think that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. I don't know how that's going to play out.
I've been back on the ship for 5 minutes now. I'm in charge, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just take over for Eva.
Do the thing.
Yep.
I'm just going to go ahead and move Eva off of her server.
You're sending her back to school anyway. I'm in charge now.
Oh, Jesus.
Sent her back to school. She's already done with school.
Yeah.
Pardon me. Anybody else have anything else they want to add to what moment stands out best or who best embodied their character? Kind of drove those two questions together this time.
I thought Jack did a really good job with the SSH.
Yeah.
Both aspects. And Mills, I got a good. I really liked seeing Mills for the same reason Jeff said. Yeah,
O'Connor. Yeah. Mills
We
didn't.
didn't see Mills.
Not a whole lot anyway. Yeah.
She was doing great in the background.
I'm fading. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay.
O'Connor was great, and I got a good feel for O'Connor in this session.
Yeah, it was good to get to actually play with her a little bit because she's
Mhm.
normally kind of sidelined. There's not a whole lot of use for her.
Mhm.
Though I think with Foxwell being our kind of season enemy ish, I want to see more O'Connor Tong teaming up against him.
Mhm. Yeah.
Maybe
That was fun a couple
compliance.
episodes back.
I may have to promote him a little bit because as a PC lieutenant is fine. As an NPC, he may need a higher rank.
Mm.
I'm okay with retconning.
So Tong can't countermand him anymore.
You should just retcon him to be lieutenant commander.
That's probably what I'll do, or I'll just have him promoted while he's here because why not? Because that adds even more frustration to Tong and them. Like, he got promoted. What the hell?
God damn it! He's done nothing but put even a box.
I really thought he did a great job with Desavi playing the diplomatic middleman between Ambrose and Foxwell, and balancing the both logical, pragmatic side of rebooting Eva and the ethical side of rebooting. I really like that little speech you put on there.
Yeah. I got to figure out how to take that argument to its to a conclusion at some point. Like, because I Measure of a Man is one of my favorite episodes of all time, and it's one of the best episodes of Star Trek. But I don't know how to do anything like that in this. But I think that moment of having to determine some level of whether or not Eva is sentient may have to happen, because I think that's Foxwell's. I don't know Foxwell's full motivation yet because I've played him for not even a whole session, but I know it as a PC. When he was a PC, the idea was that he would eventually acclimate, and he could eventually acclimate and move on, although he didn't have to. But I don't know that he has to do that now. So
I don't see any reason he has to.
Yeah, I'll just see how this plays out. I don't know.
And the new SSH issue, I'm sure, is going to compound that even more.
Yeah.
That rolls into my what did you or your character learn today? Because Desavi learned that she is having an inner struggle because she was like not Ambrose levels of the ship can hear us all the time and I don't love it. But she was like, it's a ship, it's a program. Fucking EMH, pain in my ass. I don't want anything to do with it. And now she's having to rethink Eva. Okay, that was all right. And now she really has to rethink the SSH. And she's thinking, like in the back of her head, she's like, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Do I also need to rethink the EMH?
Yeah. It's a lot of questions when it comes to the sentience of these AIs.
Mm-hmm.
So, what good idea, bad idea? for today. I think that would be a good one to do for today. I think a good idea, bad idea. I don't particularly have one, but man, I can think there could be some.
The reintegration of the SSH, both good idea and bad idea.
Yeah.
I think the way it was, the way it was done, depending on how you wind up rolling with that Jack, and that kind of affront to your personhood with him just like digging his fingers about you. That could be the good idea, bad idea there.
Oh yeah.
I think it was a really good idea that we bring his robot body on board the ship. I think that's a great way to get him on away missions.
Yeah. I like the idea. I was thinking about it. One of the robots you guys had encountered in the original time on Haliroon Station was almost cybernetic. It was like a human that had been rotting away around a machine. Right. That got me thinking, you guys could totally build one or take one of these more advanced machines and either, put some skin on it or put holographic projectors on it so that it could project one of the 2 or 3, advanced AIs you have aboard ship at its leisure. That's kind of a good idea. I like the idea of that. And it's an autonomous, it would be a remote control device. It would not have the autonomy of like Data, but it could be pretty close.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do whatever Jack wants to do.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking the exact same thing. Set up a force field system around the robot so that you could bounce because holographic projectors rely on triangulation. So you can't just put one on a robot. But if you bounce it off of force fields, which the SSH has a focus on, he could maintain the force fields, bounce the holograms off of the force field, and maintain his own projection.
Right. Yeah, I mean, whatever the reasoning we do it, like the robots are advanced pieces of machinery. We can do this. It'll be a thing we can figure out. I like the idea. It's something we could certainly work on. So
I'm all for that.
All right, if you could change one thing about this session, what would it be?
Anything?
Yeah, I don't have anything. Like it was a good ass session.
Yeah.
No notes.
Yeah.
I blocked 3 people today. The only thing I think I would change is I would have liked to have had a little bit more trial runs on my technical side to get the stuff more right. But
yeah,
that is a thing that happens, and I have solved most of the problems going forward. So,
I have another good idea, bad idea.
Yeah.
I love the making notes. I would love it if we name everything we discover in that thing. I enjoyed that. And I want to keep doing that.
Yeah. I've named a few things, but that will come up later, but you guys can name whatever you want, because this is all new exploration. This is it's an uncharted space.
That's my jam. This is what I want to do. I love it.
So,
man, I'm really excited now that we're pretty much done with Haliroon to go explore that ridiculous amount of habitable worlds.
Yeah. Yep. 5 systems and maybe up to 50 planets, or 50 class M or class inhabitable spaces. It's not all class M. So,
okay.
Because I think you can also survive on like class
L's,
class L or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. They're the just not too cold or just not too hot sort of environment.
Right. So yeah, there are upwards of possibly 50 places that you can explore. Plus the Aharan are known to be there, and the Maelstrom that's out there, and
a lot of good stuff.
I cannot wait to explore. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right. I don't have anything else. Do you guys have anything else you want to add, comment, anything like that? All right.
Actually, I think the only thing I would have changed from this episode would have been a cameo from the Aboriginal robots. I think it would have been really cool to see how they have developed over this last year.
I had planned it. I actually got the pictures, and I had Evelyn find the name for me of the one that you guys had encountered, but it didn't come up as I was kind of hoping that I was kind of thinking I would have O'Connor stray off far enough to encounter them, but I didn't feel it fit quite right anywhere. I did want to do it though. I do have more for them. So I just didn't think it fit real nicely.
We can always come back.
Yeah, we could
always
run a fairly reoccurring
Yeah, well, Haliroon Station is now kind of the new Narendra for the area you're in. So Narendra will be like your kind of the over here stuff, and Haliroon is your kind of over here stuff. So
yeah, and giving the disproportionate numbers of non-Starfleet personnel and Starfleet personnel, I'm sure there could be a lot of like, as you said, shantytown problems that come up.
Yep.
Factionalizing and resource hoarding and whatever it may be.
I'm kind of picturing Haliroon Station to be like St. Louis circa 1820, 1830. A lot of people moving here because they're going to go that way shortly, but there's stuff out there that they don't want to go. They want to wait until it's slightly safer and someone's built a fort somewhere. So the whole gateway to the west kind of thing. So that was my inspiration for this episode, or for this season, was the gateway to the west stuff. So
cool.
All right, I don't have anything else. You guys don't have anything else. Evelyn looks like she's about to pass out. Brian, I think, did fall asleep there for a minute. So yeah, I got nothing else. Let's go ahead and call it a night. We will be back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I always, every time I think of the word 2 weeks, this phrase 2 weeks, I think of the original Total Recall. The head comes off. Anyway, it's worth a watch, the original Total Recall. We'll be back in 2 weeks. I've got some episodes I need to get up. I think I did not get up last episode of this show. So there'll be 2 episodes for the live stream coming up on the podcast, and edited. I've also got to do the stuff for the Patreon, which will be all the uncut episodes, which we're going to start. I've started recording the Zoom calls as well. So that's what I'll be putting up on Patreon, is those uncut episodes, so that you can see without all of the other stuff, the more raw, plus all the stuff that we talk about on breaks and all that stuff. So it'll be a more of a behind the scenes look at how we do things here. So yeah, that's what we got going on. I got nothing else.
I like the brief moment of horror from Brian as he processes shit. What have I said on breaks?
Yeah,
it would have been nice to know that was going to be public.
so far is only one. This will be the first episode that'll do that with. So
okay,
I told you not to call our audience assholes, Brian.
Yeah, and if it's really bad stuff, I will. People are paying to see it, so it's okay.
Charge them more.
Try to make it worth their while.
There will be spoilers.
There will be spoilers for anyone who's on that, and that's all stuff that we'll make sure that is known if you do the Patreon. Again, you can find all the stuff at the link tree that is posted in the links. Also, it'll be the description of all the stuff. If you use Linktree and how it works, it's Studio Tembo. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, all the places that you would want us. So you can find Jack and a bunch of the places at the People's Ascension.
Lots of new content, even more coming.
Yep. Always more content to be had. So on that note, let's go ahead and call it an evening. Thanks and so long. So long and thanks for all the fish is the word I was trying to come up with. See you guys.